Leche. Leche. Leche.
Introducing PubCoin. PubCoin is the rewards program for pub sports contributors. Regular chat contributors share their play of the day, POD, in the YouTube chat, including the phrase POD in their message. At the end of the week, the amount of units earned are converted into PubCoins. PubCoin can be used as reward points for prizes, shop discounts, and contests.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Mills here, Pub Sports Radio. Do you guys want to challenge the personalities here at Pub Sports Radio? Do you guys think you're better than them at entering in your MMA predictions and picks? Would you want to get paid for it? $100? Here's how you do it, man. You sign up right here at the link below. It's just this easy. PubSportsRadio.com. Enter your email. Pick your weekly picks. That's it. Oh, and you get bonus points if you can predict how they're going to win in what round. Every single week, a new winner's getting crowned. So every Saturday on Pub Sports Radio. So come on and check us out. You can win $100 just for signing up. Only thing you need to do is see if you can beat us here at Pub Sports Radio by entering your UFC predictions and picks weekly. Do it. I dare you. See you guys soon.
Your membership to Gold, you will be automatically entered in every horse race, every Wednesday and Friday. It is time to race horses. We are racing camels today.
Shout out to the Gold members. We're racing in San Antonio immediately here. And we're off. 2 minutes, 74 canals on this racetrack. It's wide. We're racing in San Antonio.
Matt Wally moving forwardly. Jeff Slaughter in the mix as well. And as is Randall Sheffield, who's put that beautiful nose out front.
But it's actually real grass here, Jimmy. Maybe Kentucky bluegrass. Oldie, no! Here he goes. There he goes. Oldie in the lead now. K. Wolf falls back. The horses love it. Sometimes they stop and eat it on the way to the finish line. That's why your horses start so far in the back. Here. Oh, look at Nussquash Allen bursting out here. J-Dub in the mix. Rude Boy up here as well. Jimmy, take it away.
There's Oldie. Oldie is moving to the front. We are past the halfway mark in our 2 mile. And there's Ricky Levy.
Oh my goodness, he's in the mix here. Jimmy, take it home. This is our first dog race ever.
19 seconds left in the horse race here. It's Fernando Mendoza trying to find the wire. 14 seconds left. Can Fernando Mendoza take this home? Here comes Kenny Ken. Kenny Ken wants a piece of the pie. Put his schnoz up front. Ricky Bobby, 9 seconds left. Can Donut Silks make a run? Can Res Mall make a run to be $50?
You son of a bitch!
Here comes Tori Coker. Kenny Ken, Smoke and Mirrors, Director 97 home. That is the way. Here comes Jason Meyer, the Eldorado Custodian, Billy Friedrich, Joe's one all coming down to the finish.
Coin! Nowhere!
Oh no! Fanatical Jim!
1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. The Low Shack. Yeah. 1, 2, Sports Radio. Sports Radio. Started from the Clark of Peter Low Shack. Legendary sports handicapper, more dapper than a dawn. Father young phenom, known as Jimmy, who declared one day that the bag was here to stay. Information like a PSA when we all PSR, Pub Sports Radio is all. Is a man named Slaughter and he flipped the script. No competition in this but they quit the trip. Though we say we be pubbing, better with the bag and you love it. We want a top 10, we above it.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Thursday, February 20th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. disappointing day yesterday. I made some cuts. I made 25 bets in college basketball. I made some cuts late, left some money on the table, some money. A couple of the cuts did lose, but it would have been it was a strong group I was cutting. And 12, 12, and 1, which was really disappointing. I was in I thought I was going to get paid out. It was my fault for taking Cincinnati plus 2.5. I mean, if you're going to take the ass end of the line, you have to deal with the negative consequences. That I should have let that one go. I also should have let Boston University go. It turned out to be a very public play on the -4 line. The line that was moving, it had moved from 3.5 to 4.5, and I deemed that, and that was a late move, that was a sign of some discomfort from the books. Too bad. The initial bets, I came with 5 bets here, and they were strong. Washington State was a loser. First half was a loser. Army -1 was great. Got in live on them as well. Easy. Winthrop -1.5. Winthrop first half. Winthrop full game. I guess I was a little fortunate to catch the full game. They were way up at first half, and then Charlotte, UMass first half was a loser. Wofford was a blowout winner. I'm in business at this point. And then Cincinnati and Notre Dame lost. But St. Joe's, Southern Illinois was a push. Evansville +7. I mean, that was a smash and grab, outright win, easy. And Boston -4 lost. At that point, I'm 7-5. Then Detroit Mercy lost. Citadel and Belmont were way up at halftime, and both lost for me. And then UTSA was up 40-29 at the half and fell apart. If UTSA holds on to that game, I'm sitting here in the black from a ton of investment from yesterday. That was heartbreaking watching UTSA let that go. Missouri was a smash and grab winner. Illinois State, great breakdown from our guy Morgan Spooner, smash and grab winner. South Dakota +3.5, got in on them live. The problem was that I gave it back on DePaul at halftime +19 or +18.5. So that kind of, I still ended up in the black with the live, but that hurt there. But South Dakota +3.5 was smash and grab. The ruse, Kansas City was a mistake. San Jose State was a mistake, and Boise State should have been a double up. It should have been a double up. The only double up I had was Winthrop. I got off a couple double ups that would have cashed. 12-12-1, very, very disappointing. And then 1-1 in NBA. The Lakers had 9 turnovers in the first quarter, and the Hornets couldn't cover the +4. I mean, that was the most angry I've been watching a quarter. Now, the Hornets came back and easily, won outright, so they covered the full game. Oh, God, we worked so hard on that card, and I invested so much money, and I should be sitting here proud of everything. Instead, it was just like, and that, 12-12, it doesn't sound bad, but that's over a unit of VIG that I lost. So, shout out to Justin McKelvey. I'm ready to rock, though. I'm ready to fire away. I'm a little disgruntled here. We have Bobano, the great Bobano, joining us. So we're going to talk for 4 Nations here. We've not succeeded in NHL, and it's upsetting. And the unders, I bet, in the first 2 games, the Sweden game, the Finland game, first 2 games, 4 Nations, double up unders, lost 4 units there. I was down 5 units going into this All-Star break, now down 8.63. And I got Canada +165, bet it before the Finland game. So we'll talk all about that. And NCAA basketball, look, I'm not delivering. That yesterday was such an important day, and I'm not delivering. Bobano coming off a strong day. He's inching close to the black there. The only records on this show we can be proud of is NBA. 76-64 for me, +4.69% ROI. But Darryl running hot, back-to-back very strong shows. Darryl's ROI now at 45 bets, so it's not the biggest sample size yet, but his ROI +10.53%. So we're rolling in NBA. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Sammy Culmer, happy birthday, my friend. Sammy Culmer in the house. Great to see you. Happy birthday. What a guy Sammy is. Everyone give Sammy Culmer a love. Needing a birthday pick.
at first glance, I certainly feel like it's Team Canada, but that might not be the case. Sammy Culmer, happy birthday, my friend. What a guy he is. Birthday pick coming. Birthday pick. You'll get one from each capper, and happy birthday, my man. What a guy he is. Sammy Culmer, great friend of the channel. Stacks plays of the day are in Georgia Southern and Cal Poly. Let's get that copied and pasted here. I should not have taken Cincinnati at 2.5. I was glad that you got your cash on Cincy, Justin. It was a bad play. Bad play. Slow Jams Arsenal in the house 3-1 day yesterday. I'd love to see it. Gerald Jones, best bet. Louisiana Troy under 137. Oh, that was another thing. Not moving on the under in that South Dakota State, North Dakota State. God, there were so many avenues for a profitable night, and I end up 12-12. It's very frustrating. Sean Pulliam in the house, Viper NB, Orlando moneyline. He's also on Canada moneyline. We got Gravy Bets in the house, GB9 reporting for action. Great to see you, Gravy. Slow Jams Arsenal says, what happened to the Lakers? God, Luka does not look good, but he's earned the right to work his way through this calf injury, but he did not look good. LeBron. Dougie Wise in the house off a 2-0 day. Serious business, ready to get to work. And Slow Jam says, Wine Time called that shit. Charlotte plus 12. Big balls. Yeah, it was Charlotte. That full game Charlotte was easy. I cannot believe I did not catch the first quarter. No Wemby tonight, says Slow Jams. No Wemby tonight for the Spurs. That's too bad. That's good. Durant coming back to Austin, Texas. Too bad that is the case. No Wemby tonight. Free bands play, and there's Razor Sharp picks off a huge day. Love to see it, Razor. Dougie Wise, Suns -2 for Dougie Wise. Get this locked and loaded here. Thank you for sharing your action, Dougie Wise. BFV in the house says Bama cost me a crazy bag. Bama did not look good at all. Andrew G hammered Doncic under 26.5 last night. Great look, Andrew. Excellent work. Great to see all of you guys. Boone signing a 2-year extension with the Yankees, says Razor. We weren't sure if he was going to be around this year, but it looks like he will be around. Great to see all of you guys. Sammy Culmer's birthday is big, and Slatsy in the house says Charlie McAvoy being out for USA is huge. Led this team in hits, almost killed McDavid. He was phenomenal. I mean, again, Jim Benning picked Ole Uoleve over Charlie McAvoy. But yes, he was phenomenal, and it's a huge loss. Huge loss. Skunt Blaster, Skunt Bag, play today's Old Dominion moneyline, Idaho State, and he is also on Canada moneyline. Get this copied and pasted. Wine Time, Sixers plus 7.5, a top play. That team really needed a break. And so there's a few teams, and I can understand the look on. I can really understand Vipes look on Orlando Magic. That's another team that really needed a break and a reset. They were a rolling team right now. We got Nate Dogg 420, Lil Domo in the house. Morgan Spooner's play today. Vermont Catamounts moneyline plus 105. We got Wager Detective in the house. Great to see you, Wager Detective, my friend. And there's Gorky with the $2 Dono Latvia Eurobasket qualifying Draper moneyline here for Gorky. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Gorky. JW back from vacation. Bobby Portis suspended for 25 games. And things just don't get easier for these Bucks. Great to see you, JW. Great to see you, T-Moss. Big Scott in the house off a 1-in-1 day. Easy money, Big Scott. USA money lines. There we go. Big Scott back in the Americans. He's got Western Kentucky and UNC Asheville. Thank you for sharing that with us. Big Scott copied and pasted here so we can discuss here. There is Nut Flush. Nut Flush Island. It's not team totals. I'm fine with team totals. It's just full game totals I've been trying to stay away from. Rushi says, anyone think we can fade Notre Dame? Didn't really respond to the coach's tirade. That was horrific. Barry Smith ready to get to work. Rushia ready to go. Kong smash play. Jean Matsumoto. with Silva and Hernandez here for Kong. Let's get that copy and pasted. All right, it's time to get to work. Dougie White says Paul George fleeced the Sixers. I could never have imagined him looking this bad. Mark Schillingberg. Says, don't have a lot of time. Just wanted to pop in, smash like and share, and say R.I.P. to Mike Lang. We lost a true legend yesterday. The hockey community will severely miss him. Well put, Mark Schillingberg. And our hearts go out to the family and all the loved ones there. Tough stuff. But it is great to see you, Mark, and thank you so much for joining us. Super true story in the house. It is time to get to work. Please welcome the star of Thursdays here on Pub Sports Radio. We have a tiny, very important NHL card and then a monstrous college basketball card that we will be attacking. Please welcome from Canada's Steel Town, Canada's black and yellow, Hamilton Tiger Cat season ticket holder, our guy, Mr. Ian Cameron, to the show. Bobano, how are you?
And it'll be here in 3 months, another CFL season, so it'll be here before you know it.
I can't wait. That was certainly the best season I've had publicly in CFL. I can't wait to get back to work in that league. It was very, very enjoyable. It's great to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good. I mean, this is a huge night. Obviously, this is one of the biggest, most anticipated hockey games, recent memory, just because of the stakes and the attention, of course, politically. And it's just, it's everything you could want. It's Canada versus USA with the championship on the line. Two teams that you thought might make it here. And after what we saw Saturday, everyone was hoping we'd see it again Thursday, and we indeed will.
We are in for a classic. Let's go over the line history here and talk about it. Slatsy already brought up no McAvoy. That hurts so much. Quinn Hughes will not be coming to the rescue. Look, I've got Canada, I bet, before the Finland game at plus 165. I could have got plus 175. That moved 10 cents while I was just hemming and hawing over it, but I won, even though I've got this, a sizable bet here, a little more than a unit on Canada plus 165. I wanted to see Hughes on the ice. He's such a phenomenal defenseman, but he will not be there. McAvoy was the best player on the ice in that first game. He was putting his shoulder right through McDavid. He had no fear going up against McDavid and McKinnon and Crosby. He's a spectacular defenseman, and it is an enormous loss to the Americans because now I believe McAvoy is better than Adam Fox, especially from the toughness category. But and that's arguable, of course, who you like better. But I'm sitting here saying the Americans are missing their best two defensemen, and you guys know what we do in that situation. We fade that hockey team. Now it's a little different when we're talking about a team with the depth of the Americans. And also we know that Connor Hellebuck is capable of winning this one on his own. He's that special. And that's the big advantage the Americans have is in between the pipes. Binnington is an average goaltender. And there's times he looks great. And there's times he looks very susceptible and tough to watch. And this is a huge moment for him. And he's handled big moments, with the aplomb. We know they're telling us the Kachucks are good to go. We think Brady's banged up. We know that Austin Matthews is dealing with the same upper body injury that he was dealing with months ago. So he said that it occurred 2 games back. He's not 100%. Clearly, the Americans are not 100%. And you can't say the same about Canada. This Canadian team is 100%. They're coming off of the loss. This was set up just beautifully for Canada. Americans acting like they won the 4 nations because they won in Montreal. We talked about on the show, back the Americans in Montreal, back the Canadians in Boston. Canada opened up offshore at plus 106. They're now minus 104. 10 cents of movement there. On the total here, we have a 5.5, heavily juiced to the under, minus 125. Of course, that first game went under. They're only the Sweden and America and that America-Canada game are the only games that have gone under here in this tournament, although it did look like that Canada-Finland game was going to go under, but that did not happen. Here we go, Bobano. Take it away. The floor is yours. As big of a game as I can remember. And I can remember in 1996 when America beat Canada. That was tough. That's about as big of a fan as I could possibly be of international hockey at the time. That one was a very tough loss. Canada was suffering a bunch of tough losses. That was when we said America has taken over. When we looked at the rosters of the 4 nations, we were like, well, America has the best hockey team. But now, with some injuries, Doesn't feel that way. Take it away, Bobano. Canada, U.S. Four Nations final.
It does kind of feel like it's setting up well for Canada. It's unfortunate, too, because it's not just for the United States that Charlie McAvoy is going to miss this game. And he's probably the only one that's definitely going to miss the game. I think everyone else for the U.S. will play, but there's no doubt Brady Tkachuk's playing through something. Matthew Tkachuk has been at less than 100% in this tournament. Austin Matthews, the upper body injury, has recurred again, reared its ugly head for him. He's going to play, but again, you have to ask yourself for all these guys, how effective are they going to be? Are they going to be 100%? It's going to be a big question. Definitely does feel like Canada's the healthier team going into this game. There's no question. Obviously, goaltending is going to be interesting because we've seen two versions of both of these goalies. We've seen Jordan Binnington in this building play one of the best games he's ever played in his hockey career, Game 7, beating the Boston Bruins as a member of the St. Louis Blues. If it's not for Jordan Binnington in the first period of that Game 7, the Blues aren't Stanley Cup champions because Boston was all over them in that opening period. But he was absolutely phenomenal. St. Louis actually got out of the first period with the lead, and that's what allowed the Blues to get the confidence to take that Game 7. So if that's the Jordan Binnington we see tonight, it's going to be difficult for the U.S. But if it's the Jordan Binnington that gave up a horrific goal to Gensel in the Saturday game, or the guy that's been mediocre at best, throughout the regular season, then that's going to open the door for the United States. And you flip it around, it's the same thing for Connor Hellebuck. We're going to get the Connor Hellebuck that's had a pretty good tournament overall, was very good Saturday against Canada, or the guy that's not been big game Hellebuck. The guy that got ripped apart by the Colorado Avalanche in the first round last year. The guy that's been knocked out in the postseason because of underwhelming play. The Vegas series 2 years ago, he wasn't that great. So from that standpoint, what version of him are you going to get? I think when you look at it, Canada having Cale Makar back, he did not play, obviously, in the Saturday game against the United States, is very significant. There's no question about that. Like I said, I'm not betting Canada because I don't love the price, to be quite honest, that it's even money when U.S. has the home ice advantage. But I would certainly lean in that direction with Canada here in this game to get the job done. It does set up well. There's no argument to me with that. There's just a lot of variables here still that are a little bit difficult for me to decipher. I think there definitely is something to they lost the first game. They're healthier now. The absence of McAvoy should help. Just didn't love the price enough to pull the trigger on Canada, even though I do lean in that direction. I'm going back to what's worked this whole tournament. There's been just incredible energy right off the opening face-off in these games. It's why the first period over has won and cashed in every single game in this tournament. And then it's kind of settled down. Some games haven't settled down, but the last couple have, where, the Canada-U.S. game, it was a high-scoring start, and then all of a sudden it settled down after that. You look at Canada-Finland, high-scoring start on Monday. That game was going to go under the total if not for the explosion that Finland had with all those goals with the extra attacker. And then the USA-Sweden on Monday, where you had, what was it, 2-1 after the first period. It's just slowed right down. But there has been lots of energy, lots of pace, and there's been, everyone's just so excited when these games start. I think it makes you make a few mistakes with the puck. Look at the fucking mistake Hintz made in the first period for Finland against Canada. That's a terrible play for a guy like that, who's one of the better defensive forwards, and it led to a Canada goal. It's almost like you're too just amped up at the beginning of these games and you make defensive mistakes, and I think that's contributed to these goals going in early. So I'm definitely right back to the well. I've made this bet every game in this tournament. It's won every game in this tournament, and I am betting it once again tonight, and that's first period over here with Canada and the USA tonight. We can get it here at the, I believe, minus 130 is actually probably is better than that because the game total is 5.5 here in the hockey game tonight. But let me just see what the best we can get with that is. Hold on. Let me just see here. All right, we got to go to today's. But yeah, over 1.5 first period is definitely what I'm looking at here with this game tonight. Let's see what it. There we go. Over 1.5. Oh, we can get a good price on this. We can get plus 105 on it. So we'll lock that in. Good plus price on that. It's cashed in every game in this tournament. Over 1.5 plus 105 first period in this game. It's the only bet I'm going to make official for the show. Like I said, I think the full game total is a little dicey. It could be one of those games where you get 1-1 or you get 2-0. And I believe both teams have scored in the first period of every U.S. game, which is something that was pointed out to me. So if you want to sprinkle on both teams to score in the first period, I probably will have a bet on that, quite honestly. But primarily, I like the first period over. That'll be my only official play, over 1.5 plus 105 first period.
You got it. You got it. And I moved on Canada before the Finland game. I thought about taking Canada minus 1.5 after Finland scored those 3 goals, 2 with the empty net. I was thankful that I didn't, but Crosby took care of business and still brought a lot of cappers that I knew who were on Canada minus 1.5, brought that home. But I moved on that plus 165. Again, it was plus 175. I waited a little too long, but bet it and tweeted it out. There you go. We have Rod's Wacky on no goal first 10 minutes. This market is quite sharp to a possible tight, low scoring, no space hockey game. Michael Johnson looking at the draw. I had the draw.
I probably will sprinkle on that too, Michael Johnson, the draw. I could see this maybe requiring overtime. I could see it.
Yeah, it's possible, without a doubt. I don't think I'm going to go. I just feel like I'm in a pretty great spot with the plus 165 here, and I'm just going to stick to that. But I have bet 2 draws, and I cashed that Sweden-Finland draw, which was good. A lot of you guys looking here at overtime, I can completely understand. I just feel like it's a good spot for me on the plus 165. That is the 4 nations final, Canada, America, 8 p.m. tonight. I'm very, very excited about it. Let's get into college basketball. Bobano, 25 bets. It was right out of your card last night. 12-12-1. Very disappointing. I'm just struggling here. It's been a bad month. Lost over a unit of VIG. Really should have cut Boston University, seeing how public it was. Not cut, but not bet it. It was tricky and difficult and annoying. You're coming off a strong week, Bobano. Let's get you into the black here after today's proceedings. Let's get right to work. We start at 5 p.m. Eastern. We have the Marshall Thundering Herd. This is our first game on the card today. We all love 5 p.m. action. Marshall Thundering Herd, 15-12, 8-6 in the Sun Belt at the Old Dominion. Monarchs, 11-16, 7-7 in the Sun Belt. We are Chartway Arena in Norfolk, Virginia. Marshall comes in off their second straight loss, 79-68 at Louisiana on Saturday, 6.5-point favorites. Old Dominion comes in off its third straight loss, 78-75 at Georgia Southern on Saturdays, 5.5-point dogs. This is the first meeting of the year between these teams. They play again on Tuesday at Marshall. We have a couple of those spots they're playing again on Tuesday at Marshall. Let's get into the line history and the cash flow. Sorry, I had it on NBA. Let's move it over to college basketball here. And let's roll. We have Marshall right now minus 3.5, minus 110. They opened up minus 3.5, minus 108 at 5:03 p.m. There was an immediate move towards OD. Old Dominion became a plus 2.5, and then at 8 this morning they were at 2. We've come back to 3.5. We've now had a 2-cent move towards Marshall. From a total standpoint here, we have a 148.5 minus 117 to the under. I see 147 flats. This one's climbing. This moved to 148.5 about an hour ago. But I see flat 147s of the many other books. So, this sharp offshore is moving this total up. On the cash flow, we have cash flow for a lot of these games. We have just 28% of the tickets and just 18% of the cash on Marshall. 70 and 71 on the over. Take it away for us here. Bobano, game 1, Marshall Thundering Herd, Old Dominion Monarchs.
Yeah, Marshall's kind of heading in the wrong direction here later in the season. They've lost 2 in a row on the road against now. South Alabama is the best team in the Sun Belt, so there's no big deal losing that game. But blown out by Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, 79-68 as a road favorite. It's not a good look for Marshall. The defense is regressing. They still play fast. Old Dominion, meanwhile, they're kind of a team that early on in the conference season, they're barely scoring 60 and really struggling to put the ball in the basket. But suddenly you look at the last 4 games, 75-70, 75-75. Their offensive efficiency has improved. Their pace has quickened. I like this over. I'm in total agreement with the market move here. I think we're going to see points. Marshall's going to play their pace. Old Dominion's playing a little bit quicker. I like over 146.5, minus 110 at Bet99 is the best number available currently with that. And as far as the side is concerned for this game, ODU, you start to look at their recent form. I know they've lost 3 in a row, but they have definitely done well against this Marshall team. They've won 3 straight. They've covered 3. They've actually covered 4 straight in this head-to-head series versus the Thundering Herd. Took both meetings last year. They won 91-66 at home, and then in the rematch, they actually beat Marshall again, 83-76, winning outright as a 9.5-point dog. So Old Dominion's done well in this series. I'm also going to put them on the card here at plus 4.5, minus 120, the Monarchs.
ODU plus 4.5 at minus 120. Bobano moving on side in total. Last week, Bobano, you had the very rare push on both side in total.
I know.
In a game. I don't know if I've ever seen that, actually. It's so funny, but I honestly, I've never, in all my record keeping, I've never had to take off.
That close, I know, to be in 2-0.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
But there we go. Bobano on the over 146.5 in Marshall, Old Dominion, and ODU plus 4.5. I really cherish the opportunity to cap these cards with you, Bobano. And after yesterday going through 52 games, it's pretty nice seeing 22 here on the card. In all honesty, that was a battle of all battles that we chose to fight. This is different, though, when we have Bobano, because he makes moves on a lot of these games and gives us full breakdowns on each game. So this is a little different. We're not speeding through. Let's roll on. 6:30 p.m. Eastern is our next spot. The Maine Black Bears, 16-10, 8-3 in the American East, at the UAlbany Great Danes, 13-13, 5-6 in the American East. We're at the Broadview Center in Albany, New York. Albany, I believe you had last week. I'd have to check again on your spreadsheet, but I believe that was one of your winners last week.
Yep.
Comes in off its second win in 3 games, 90-88 in overtime at UMass Lowell as 5.5-point dogs. Maine comes in off having their modest 2-game winning streak snapped at 65-61 loss at home to Vermont on Saturday as 3.5-point favorites. We're going to be talking about Vermont today. We've already heard from Morgan Spooner. That's his play of the day. Now, these teams met in a Maine pummeling of Albany, 87-66 at home as 4.5-point favorites back on January 11th here. January 11th. Action Jackson moving on. Tkachuk anytime goal. I do have caution with that lower body injury. I could see Tkachuk having a few good shifts in the first period and then not really seeing him for the rest of the game. I don't want to talk you off anything, but the lower body injury, we all know he wouldn't be playing if this was just a regular NHL game. So I'm a little, but we know he's going to have a ton of emotion and energy to get him through these first few shifts, and they're going to freeze him up and all that stuff. But I just would be a little concerned with both Tkachuks right now. That's part of the reason why we have confidence, because they're absolute monsters. Those two brothers are absolutely phenomenal powerhouses. Everything you want in a forward, go into the dirty areas, punch you in the face, score a goal, Gordie Howe hat tricks all every game, and they're both hurt. And that's a huge feather in the cap of Canadian backers. But let's go back to this spot here again. Maine pummeled Albany back on January 11th at home as 4.5-point favorites back on January 11th, 87-66. So let's go into the line history here. Can Albany, who's playing better basketball, have something for the Maine Bears? This total is at 138, slightly juiced to the over. This opened up at 137. We're now at 138. We've had a 1-point move to the over. On the point spread here for this spot, we have Albany, and I was looking at this closely. Albany plus 1.5. They opened as 1-point dogs. That was at 8:21 this morning. It took 13 minutes for them to become 1.5-point dogs. I understand why cappers would gravitate towards Maine, but Albany is improving. Albany is improving, and this line is close to a pick 'em for a reason. We don't have information on the spread money-wise, but we do on the money line. 65% of the tickets, 68% of cash on Maine line moving in their direction. 78% of tickets and 80% cash on the over. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Maine Black Bears, Albany Great Danes.
Yeah, I'm passing on this one. Maine's just been too dominant over Albany. They've owned this team. They're the better of these two teams. It is Albany revenge for getting blown out at Maine earlier in the season, but Maine's just the better team. Certainly a lot better defensively. And look, I cashed with Albany last week. Albany, oddly enough, has been better on the road. They knocked off Bryant as a big dog. They beat UMass Lowell. They beat Binghamton on the road. At home, though, they've been a disaster point spread wise. They failed to cover in 5 straight home games. They lose to Bryant by 10. They lose as favorites to UMBC, the Retrievers. They only beat NJIT, one of the bottom feeders, by 6. They fail to cover as a 12-point home favorite. Binghamton, they lose outright as a home favorite. Vermont, they lose outright as a home favorite. They've been terrible at home, Albany. They've been just burning money for their backers at home. Because I was kind of interested initially in Albany too, but then I looked at it more. Maine's just better. Maine has owned them. Albany's not been good enough at home. Pretty straightforward decision for me to pass.
I'm right with you. I was trying to get on Albany, but if you're going to try to force yourself,
I would bet Maine before Albany, but I'm not going to bet Maine.
Yeah, I was trying to force myself on what I perceive as a sharp side. I think the line was put out in a situation where they knew they were going to take a ton of Maine Black Bears money. In fact, I'm not off of this for sure. I still have interest in Albany, and I want to see sort of what happens with this market, especially if more and more money comes in on Maine and it just stays at 1.5. I think that will appeal to me more. So we'll see how that bangs out. But let's head over to the Sun Belt. 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Georgia Southern Eagles 14-13, 6-8 in conference. At the App State Mountaineers 16-10, 9-5 in conference. We're at Holmes Convocation Center in Boone here. Let's get into the line history for this spot. We have Georgia Southern right now plus 8.5. Plus 8.5 at minus 110. We also have reached right off the hop the Stacks play of the day numero uno. It is Georgia Southern a plus 8.5 for our guy Justin McKelvey, who's been running real nice. Shout out to our guy Justin.
Stacks, 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 stacks.
And I, going over the action from Cabbers that I copied and pasted from that first game at 5 p.m., not only Bobano on ODU plus 4.5, but that is also the Skunt Bag play of the day, Old Dominion money line as well. But let's get back to this Georgia Southern spot. So they're sitting at 8.5. They opened up at 9.5. So we've had a 1-point move towards Georgia Southern. Let's get to the total here for this one. From a total perspective, we are sitting here with this one. Oh, I did that already. 138. My apologies. 138 minus 116. This opened up at 139.5. So we have a 0.5 move to the under. Let's get to the cash flow. Here we have a 50-50 ticket count. 51% of the tickets, but 63% of the cash on Georgia Southern. 49% of the tickets on the over and just 57% of cash. We saw a lot of money and cash on the under. On unders yesterday, more than we were usually used to seeing. Georgia Southern comes in off its third win in 4 games, 78-75 at home over Old Dominion on Saturday's 5.5-point favorites, won but didn't cover. App State comes in off having their 4-game winning streak snapped in a 70-65 loss at Georgia State on Saturday's 3.5-point favorites. App State playing much better with that 4-game winning streak, but it's being snapped. This is the first meeting of the year between these two teams. They face each other again on Tuesday in Statesboro. Take it away for us, Bobano. Georgia Southern Eagles, App State Mountaineers.
Yeah, this is another side in total. It's Georgia Southern and the over for me here in this. Let's start with Georgia Southern plus the points, why that's good. It's actually one of the stronger sides, I think, on this card for me here today. App State has been dreadful as a home favorite lately. This is a good team, and they've often had a very strong home court in years past. It hasn't really been that way when they've been laying big points, though, lately. Old Dominion at home, they lose outright as a 10.5-point home favorite, 78-77. Georgia State, 11.5-point favorite. They win by 4. 8-point home favorite against Southern Miss is bad. They had to escape with their lives, App State, to beat Southern Miss at home, 60-58 just recently. That was about a few weeks ago. They have been just burning money as home favorites all of a sudden. 3 straight 0-3 ATS, their last 3 as home favorites. All of those games, they were 8-point favorites or more. 1 they lost outright. The other 2 they won by only 4 points or less. And then you flip it around to Georgia Southern, who look, from a win-loss standpoint, they're 6-4 in their last 10 games. But you look at how they've lost the 4 games they did lose. They were right there in every game. They lose by 4 to Marshall at home. Troy, one of the best teams in the Sun Belt, on the road, they lose by 7. They cover the number in defeat. Now, the Southern Miss was a bad loss. You lose on the road to Southern Miss, but they only lost that game by 4. They played an excellent James Madison team the last time they lost a game, the Georgia Southern Eagles. 5-point loss against a very good JMU team. The point is, all these losses, they're right there for the most part. Single-digit losses. You look at the series history, Georgia Southern's been a pain in the rear for App State. App State's won 3 straight, but they've all been tough. Georgia Southern's covered 5 straight in the head-to-head series. The last 2 have gone to overtime. App State won them both, but both of them in overtime, both by 5 points or less. I think it's too many points. I like Georgia Southern. Tons of overs in the series history as well. I think we're on a run of 6 straight overs head-to-head with these 2 teams, so it's another reason why I'm liking the over. And I've been on Georgia Southern overs quite a bit on these Thursdays with you. We've won more often than not. So Georgia Southern plus the points. And just make sure we get the best number currently. Plus 8.5, minus 105 with the point spread. Over 137.5, minus 104 with the total.
You are locked and loaded, side and total for Bobano, Georgia Southern plus 8.5, and the over 137.5. Let's head over to the CAA for our next spot on the board. 6:30 p.m. Eastern with Drexel Dragons, 13-14, 5-9 in conference, and a very disappointing Delaware Blue Hens squad. Newark, Delaware, Bob Carpenter Center. Delaware 12-15, 5-9 in conference. Coming off its Drexel coming off the 3rd straight loss. Delaware coming off 2nd straight loss. Drexel comes in off its 3rd straight loss, 5th in 6 games, 72-59 at William and Mary as 2.5-point dogs. It was an ugly performance. Delaware comes in off its 2nd straight loss, 7th in 8 games. Can you believe Delaware's lost 7 in 8 games? 96-91 home versus Campbell on Saturday. And Delaware lost at Drexel back on January 25th. They were 4.5-point dogs. They lost in that one. So does Delaware have something for the Dragons here? Can anybody trust Delaware? This total is at 143. It's slightly juiced to the over. This opened up at 142.5, so we have a half-point move towards the over. On the point spread here for the Drexel Delaware spot, Delaware sitting minus 3.5 at minus 108. They opened up at minus 3, 5:03 p.m., and there was movement towards Drexel. Drexel took 8 cents of juice after about 6.5 hours, took a little more juice, and then we had a 2.5. It was a 2.5 this morning. That's when the market started moving towards Delaware. Delaware got up to a minus 4 minutes before the show started. Now they're back at 3.5, a half-point move towards the Blue Hens. Let's get into the cash flow for this one. We have 32% of the tickets and 45% of cash on Delaware, 72 and 73 on the under. Delaware becoming slightly more appealing here in the marketplace. Let's hear what Bobano has to say about this one. CAA action in Newark, Delaware. Take it away.
Drexel's owned this team. That's the one thing that stood out to me when I looked at this game. My goodness, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. The last 5 head-to-head meetings versus the Delaware Blue Hens. Delaware is just one of those teams. They've just been all over the map. Very, very difficult team for me to decide when to bet on them, when to bet against them. Delaware has been a little bit better the last couple. They beat William and Mary at home. They covered the number in defeat at Towson, the best team in the conference, in my opinion, CAA, the Colonial. And then they lost. I did fade them the last time because they played Campbell, my darlings, Campbell, who I've made a lot of money with here this season, the Camels. And Delaware fell 96-91 to Campbell in that game. They're in a bounce-back spot here, but I got to lean Drexel at this number. I mean, they've just owned this team. They've won 5 straight. They've covered 5 straight. They've won a couple of these games as well here at Delaware, so they've been able to win in this building. Problem is Drexel's not in good form either. They've lost 3 in a row. They get blown out by William and Mary. They lose as favorites on the road against Hampton, the Pirates, which haven't had a great season by any stretch of the imagination. They did beat William and Mary at home, but you look at their road track record, and other than a 1-point loss against a very good Towson team, they've had some ugly results on the road. So I'm leaning Drexel, but don't love it enough to bet it. I'm staying away.
I'm becoming I'm finding Delaware more and more appealing here. I find them interesting at this point.
Yep.
I'm going to take a look at them after the show. But it feels like that'll be my first spot.
Drexel's
on
been
the
flighty enough on the road that maybe it's time for Delaware to beat them finally. But gosh, for me, it's tough to go against that 5 straight wins and covers for Drexel in the series. You got to show me you can beat a team before I'm ready to back you.
No, I absolutely hear that. I hear that. Both teams in bad shape. Well, I have to see how much action. I haven't made a bet yet in college basketball today.
Especially when you're laying points like Delaware is here.
Yeah, but I mean, if we can keep it under 2 buckets,
Yep.
but no, you're absolutely right. Let's roll on. Let's roll on and head to the Big Ten. We have a lot of early action for us today, which will be very enjoyable, especially for everybody out west. This game pops off at 3:30. You get action popping off at 2 p.m. Sweet time schedule for the Western Cappers. Great to see you, Mel, in the house, riding her investment in Canada plus 195 in MVP futures. McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, all at huge prices. I know that it's between Crosby and McDavid right now, but I know Crosby's done so much of the grinding, but these goals that McDavid have scored are fucking spectacular, and they're huge. And I know it's going to be hard not to give it to Crosby if we win, but good God, I do think McDavid has been the MVP thus far. But Northwestern Ohio State here in Columbus, Ohio. Northwestern 4-11 in conference. The Buckeyes 7-8 in the Big Ten. Northwestern coming off its third straight loss, 68-64 at home to Nebraska on Sunday's 1.5-point dogs. We talked about this yesterday because Nebraska was in action. Northwestern was up 36-21 at the half. There's no excuses for them buckling the way they did in the second half. At home, it was absolutely horrific. Ohio State comes in off its second loss in 3 games, 86-83 at home versus Michigan on Sunday as 1.5-point favorites. This is the lone meeting this year between these two teams. Let's get into the line history here. Ohio State minus 9.5. I mean, they opened up at 10.5. A somewhat absurd number at 10.5, but it didn't move to 10 until 8 this morning. It took 15 hours for it to move a 0.5 point away from Ohio State. Then we got to 9 at 10:01 a.m. We're at a 9.5 right now. So we've had the 1 point move towards Northwestern. Let's get to the total here for this spot. A Big Ten action. We have a 142.5 at a pick'em. 142.5 at a pick'em. This opened up at 142.5. It got up to 144. It got up to 144 a little after midnight, and then it's come back. It dropped all the way down back to 142, and then there was a 0.5 point move to the over, which gets us exactly from where we started here. Slow Jams Arsenal says under or nothing. Says Northwestern always goes for a 6 or 7 minute stretch where they don't score. Strategic investments liking the Buckeyes here, but at this number, can they be backed at this number? Let's get into the cash flow here for the Big Ten spot. We're going to get all the info there. 53% of tickets, 69% of cash on Northwestern. 58% of tickets, 61% cash on the over. Let's get Bobano back in business here. Bobano, take it away. Big Ten action here for us. Wildcats, Buckeyes.
Oh boy, first of all, for Ohio State, they blew a golden opportunity to really help their tournament cause. That loss against Michigan at home on Sunday. I mean, that would have gone a long way to helping them as far as strengthen their resume, and they ended up, falling short. I think one thing we're noticing with Ohio State, though, is they're scoring right now. There's no doubt. I mean, they're defending not so well, but you're getting good performances lately from, Micah Parrish, John Mobley, Devin Royal, and Bruce Thornton's really stepped up lately, although he had a terrible miss at the end of that Michigan game. Didn't even get the basket with a little floater that would have tied the game. But nevertheless, they've been good offensively, but they're still not a great defensive team, Ohio State. That continues to be an issue. That's why they've probably gone over 3 straight games. Northwestern, meanwhile, look at this overrun. 9-1 for them in the last 10 games. Chris Collins' team has really fought the good fight, but I think they're starting to come unglued a little bit at the defensive end of the court. Nebraska couldn't hit the broadside of a barn the first half against Northwestern in Northwestern's last game, but then they got it going in the second half, and they came back and they beat Northwestern. Actually, I should say came back, and Nebraska rather came back and beat Northwestern 68-64. Too many defensive deficiencies for these two teams lately. I think the total's just a little bit low in this game. I don't want to lay 10.5 with Ohio State. That at the same time, I don't know if I trust Northwestern. They've had to deal with injuries. They look like they're a team kind of running out of gas a little bit. Ohio State's got to win this one. They cannot lose a game to Northwestern at home and expect to be tournament bound. Northwestern's been scrappy at times, and look, they have stayed within single digits in actually, believe it or not, each of their last 6 losses, they've stayed within single digits. So you got to give Northwestern credit for that. I'll probably lean their way, but I don't feel great about taking them. I'm just going to stick to the over here. I think that's the way to go. Over 141.5 minus 110.
Over 141.5 at minus 110 for Bobano. I agree that this feels like too many points. I also feel like
I also feel Ohio State could win by 15.
I think they need to make a statement.
They need to, I think they might pile it on if they can.
Yeah,
that's the question.
But again, it feels, when I saw the line, I was surprised, and so I get why there's been a point move towards Northwestern. I don't want to really get.
We have to keep in mind they have beaten Washington by 24 at home, and they've beaten Iowa by 17 at home. So we've seen Ohio State capable of winning by margin at home.
And we've seen Northwestern buckle in second half. So I wonder if Northwestern does get off to a good start. We look very closely at moving on Ohio State Live. That is Big Ten action. Bobano moving on the over 141.5 at a pick minus 110 price. Let's roll on. Head over to the Big South. This is a very interesting game. UNC Asheville Bulldogs rolling 19-7, 10-2 in conference. At the Radford Highlanders 16-11, 6-6 in conference. We are at the Dedman Center in Radford, Virginia for this one. Let's get into the line history here. We don't have information on the cash flow of the spread. We do have the money line. But let's get into this one here. This total is at 145.5 or 146, depending on where you shop. I'm looking at a 145.5 to the over right now. That moved 2 minutes ago. So it's moving towards the over here. This offshore, that's very sharp, a little slow to get there. Then let's get to the spread here for this Radford spot. Radford sitting -3 at minus 106. They opened up at 2.5 and it moved to 3. So this opened up at 8:22 this morning. It took 14 minutes for it to move to 3. This also became a 3.5 and looked like it was becoming a 4. Then there was buyback on UNC Asheville, which one would expect. I mean, Asheville's a good basketball team. And Stano in the house, great to see you, says model showing a big edge on the over in the Radford game. So let's pull up the cash flow. We only have information on the money line here. 37% of the tickets, 60% of cash on UNC Asheville on the money line. On the total, just 38% of the tickets on the over and 51% of the cash. UNC Asheville comes in off its second straight win in 9th in 10 games, 75-72 at home over Charleston Southern as 10.5-point favorites on Saturday. Maybe Charleston Southern is a little undervalued in the marketplace, but it wasn't a very impressive performance from UNC Asheville. Radford comes in off its second loss in 3 games, 78-74 at Winthrop last Wednesday as 3.5-point dogs. And these teams met back on January 29th. It was in Asheville, UNC Asheville home win. They won 72-65. They were just 2.5-point favorites here in this one. I find Radford appealing here. When a 10-2 team in the Big South comes in as 3-point dogs, Radford knows they have to win now. I find Radford appealing here. Walter doesn't. Let's hear what Bobano has to say about this spot. Bulldogs, Highlanders at the Dedman Center.
Again, it's back to that Drexel, Delaware situation. It's back to that. There's another one, too, that we talked about. No, it was Drexel, Delaware. Yeah, where it's just one team's been just too dominant, over the other. And Asheville has won 6 straight, covered 6 straight against this Radford team. It's been a one-sided series history, and they're a dog. That's tough for me to go against that. Asheville's just dominated this team, and that includes wins at Radford. So, Asheville's shown the ability. They're the better team in this conference right now. Okay, the last couple games they haven't covered, but, kind of going through the motions maybe a little bit. Charleston Southern at home, South Carolina upstate on the road. They didn't cover those two. It's just very difficult when the series history has been so lopsided. It's kind of like, prove it to me if you're Radford, if you're the Highlanders. Prove it to me. You can finally take down this team before I'm ready to back you. I do think the over could be in play here. One thing I will say about Asheville is that they have been a high-scoring team lately. I do think the over's in play. That is a bet I've made. That is a bet I will make official over the total here. Radford and Asheville, 144.5 minus 112 with that total.
Over 144.5 minus 112?
That's it. Yep.
All right. Bobano has moved again. It's funny that this is such a similar situation to the Delaware spot because I find both teams home slight favorites who've been losing to their competition appealing, which is something I need to sit with here and decide if I have the balls to try to catch a falling knife. Super True Story agreeing with the over being the play. UPK Yashiala moving on. Asheville money line. Let's roll on. Head back to the American East. We got a beauty here. We've already heard from the Spoon Dog, Morgan Spooner, liking the Vermont Catamounts at home here, facing Bryant. They're 2.5 games back of Bryant. They're tied right now with Maine. The Maine and Vermont, each 3 games up on Albany. Bryant has won 3 straight games, coming off a very underwhelming 81-79 home victory on Saturday over UMBC. They just had back-to-back games against the weakest teams in the conference. They beat NJIT by 22. That was last Thursday. We capped that game. I was on NJIT first half, Bobano full game. That did not work for us. UMBC, then they follow up with a underwhelming performance, 81-79. Now they get out onto the road. Vermont is getting their shit together. They just won at Maine. That was impressive, 65-61. Very impressive victory. They've now won 4 straight games. Not only was that an impressive victory, winning at Maine, but they'd already beaten Maine at home. It was the Vermont is coming together, and there's Spooner in the house. As American East tournament as the higher seed hosts the home game, seeding is very important for the top teams. Justin McKelvey's already moved on, Vermont plus 110, and Super True Story is Vermont and under 140.5 that he's moving on right now. These teams met, and this is another thing that makes Vermont more appealing. Bryant destroyed them, 73-53. Vermont turned the ball over 17 times, not Catamount basketball. And they got destroyed. Bryant with 3.5-point favorites. They opened up as 2.5. They closed as 3.5. And they pulverized Vermont. Vermont was held to 23 points in the second half. Vermont is appealing here. Let's take a look at the line history for this 7 p.m. spot. We have Vermont right now plus 1.5, minus 106. That's where they opened. They opened at 8:22 a.m. They opened plus 1.5, minus 105. After 17 minutes, that had moved to minus 117. Now we've come back. We have a 1 cent move towards the Catamounts. A team, clearly finding themselves here down the stretch. From a total standpoint, we have a 141.5. It's minus 118 to the under. Let's see where this opens. Taking us. Here we go. This opened at 142. It dropped down to 140.5 at 9:35, then got up to 142.5, and it looked like it was going to 143. So we've had U-shaped movement on this one. We're back at 141.5, so we have had a half-point move towards the under. And when we get to the cash flow, sorry, I thought I had this set up. We're not going to get any spread information, but we do know that 75% of the tickets, but just 49% of cash is on Bryant, 57 and 59 on the over. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Our guy Robert Cherry says, can't sleep on Bryant despite lack of competition, but I like Bryant in this spot, ready to roll. I'm leaning towards where Spooner is. Let's hear where Bobano is. Bulldogs, Catamounts in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, I am too. Vermont is one of those teams where we were almost ready to throw them in the garbage can about a month ago when they were just reeling. Well, they were reeling against the spread. I mean, they 5 straight non-covers for Vermont. They actually won 2 of those games, but they went 2-3 straight up, 0-5 against the spread through a pretty bad stretch. And the only wins were against the bottom feeders, the lower lights, Binghamton and NJIT. They got blown out, as you mentioned, at Bryant in the previous meeting. They lost outright as favorites at home to UMBC. They lost on the road as favorites at Binghamton. And that felt like a low point. And at that point, I think everyone, I know I was like, what the hell's wrong with this team? This team that's owned this conference. What's going on here? And I think what the issue was, their defending wasn't nearly as good. They weren't getting as much supplemental offense of late. And since that Binghamton loss, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread here in the month of February. They have a good win against Maine at home. They go on the road and beat Albany. They destroy New Hampshire. And then they win the rematch at Maine, which is not an easy place to win. 65-61. The difference is TJ Hurley's been phenomenal. They finally are getting Ao Folai and Fiorillo. A couple of their front court players are playing better, especially offensively. And now all of a sudden they've got multiple players just making a difference. They're making shots. Sometimes it's not that difficult. You make some shots. You start to make, you start to score the basketball. It's amazing how much better of a team you can become. Bryant's been phenomenal here. 9-1 in the last 10 games. They continue to win games, but they have been a little bit overvalued from a point spread standpoint lately. Just 1-3 ATS their last 4 games, and that was against NJIT. The other games, they had lost the game outright as a big double-digit favorite to Albany. They didn't cover in a win at Binghamton. The Retrievers, they escaped 81-79 with a home win in their last game. It kind of feels like Bryant plateaued, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, kind of peaked. Their level of play has dipped a little bit. And meanwhile, you're getting Vermont playing their best basketball of the season. I'm in agreement. Vermont, to me, in a revenge spot at home. They're starting to look like a John Becker Vermont team. He's been there forever as the head coach. Don't be surprised if they're right there again in the final of this championship, of this tournament next month in the America East, now that they're starting to get their shit together and figure things out. So I do like Vermont here, +2, -110.
Vermont +2 at -110. I like it. I'm going to be joining here. Super True story play today. Wichita +8. Super True. I don't know if I have your number 1 play today, unless that was what we just talked about.
And I've been on a lot of Bryant overs. People might be wondering, especially on the show here. I think one of my wins last week was Bryant over the total. Yeah, I remember Bryant over the total. Why am I not on that tonight in this game? Especially with Vermont kind of trending over the last couple of games. I want to be. Series history does it for me. It's been under every single time these two teams have played. So that kept me off.
Let's roll. Oh, Southern Indiana first half there for Super True was play today. Number 1. Get that set up here for you. Super True. Thank you for sharing all of that. I'm going to join you. I'm going to join you fellas here on the Catamounts. I agree with the idea that they are finding themselves late in the season. Let's roll on. Georgia State Panthers head over or back to the Sun Belt. Georgia State Panthers 12-15, 7-7 in conference at James Madison. Duke 17-10, 10-4 in conference. We're at the Atlantic Union Bank Center in Harrisonburg, Virginia, home of James Madison. These Georgia State Panthers have won 4 straight games. They're playing good basketball. Last 2 have come at home. Yeah, that road win at Buffalo wasn't too awe-inspiring, but they still got the victory, 80-75. 4 straight victories for them. They last played on Saturday. James Madison bounced back off their loss at Toledo to beat Georgia Southern on the road, 77-72. And then a very underwhelming performance against Coastal Carolina on Saturday, barely squeaking by 74-73. They haven't been at home since the 5th of February, so they're probably champing here to have this opportunity. And these teams met 86-79 James Madison victory at Georgia State. They were in complete control. Georgia State put a tiny bit of a run in the last couple of minutes of the game to make it less embarrassing. But this was a dominant victory. This was 70-50 James Madison with 8 minutes left. James Madison were 8.5-point favorites. They took care of business. They shot the ball well and won by 7. Again, it was a big run late to make it to get the cover for Georgia State. So does Georgia State have something here for these Dukes coming off a poor performance? From a total standpoint, this one is dropping like a rock. Opened up at 152. Now we have a 149. So we have a 3-point move towards the under. And then on the point spread, here we have James Madison -10 and -110. That's where they opened. This became a 9 last night. It was a 9 for a long time, and then it got right back up to 10.5 again at 9:45 this morning. Now we're back at 10. We've had 2 cents of movement towards James Madison. And we get to the cash flow. 56% of tickets, 50% of cash is on James Madison. 65 and 59 on the over. I would be on Georgia State if James Madison wasn't coming off such a poor performance against a weakling in the conference. It's a pretty easy coaching angle. If they play like that, their season's going to be over in 2 weeks. And it's a pretty easy selling point for them to step up here at home. But it's a big number that doesn't appeal to me. Let's hear what Bobano has to say. Georgia State Panthers, James Madison Dukes, and Harrisonburg.
Yeah, Georgia State, what they can throw at James Madison here is one of the great late season angles. And I've mentioned this multiple times now on the show the last couple of weeks. You've got a team on the road catching points as a road underdog that lost the first meeting at home and now they're in revenge on the road catching points. We've mentioned this angle many times on this show, and it's been good. It's been profitable. I've been tracking it. It's won more than it's lost. It won with Missouri State last night, just as an example. They covered. They didn't win the game. They lost by 2, but they covered the number. But there's many examples that this has worked, and it's worked more often than not. Not to mention, look at Georgia State all of a sudden. Obviously James Madison's a great team, one of the better teams in this conference, no doubt, and they're still in the mix to win this conference, the regular season title. You mentioned that they'll want to bounce back and play better. And that was an ugly game against a weaker team, Coastal Carolina. But at the end of the day, they won that game, James Madison, barely, but they won that game. So, obviously they'll want to play better. But I think if they had lost that game, the urgency level ramps up even more. I think the fact they still won that game means that, it's not the be-all, end-all, to put your pedal to the metal here. And I don't know, even if they do that, Georgia State is rolling. They've covered 7 straight, 7-0 ATS their last 7 games. The losses were to JMU in the first game at home by 7, and they covered the number in defeat. App State on the road, 11.5-point dogs. They only lost by 4, and then they've won every other game. That Marshall's a tough place to win. They went there and beat Marshall outright as a 12.5-point dog. They crushed ULM. They beat Buffalo on the road. They crushed Old Dominion at home. They beat App State as a home underdog. Georgia State is playing their absolute best basketball. They've been a completely undervalued commodity from a betting perspective for weeks now, and I am riding the wave. I've been on Georgia State a bunch. We're taking them again. Plus 10.5, minus 108.
Georgia State plus 10.5. Locked in for Bobano. Was that minus 110?
Minus 108.
That's minus 108. Locked in. Georgia State plus 10.5, minus 108 for Bobano. Let's roll on. Head over to Kennesaw, Georgia for our next one. Head over to Conference USA. UTEP Miners 17-8, 7-5 in conference. At the Kennesaw State Owls 15-11, 7-6 in conference. UTEP coming off a 76-69 loss at home to Liberty on Saturday. They had won 2 straight games. These teams met in a very close 73-71 basketball game. That was back on Saturday, January 25th. UTEP took care of business at home. UTEP was 4.5-point favorite, so they didn't cover. In that game, Kennesaw State turned the ball over 22 times. They dominated the boards, gave them a chance to win, but 22 turnovers turned out to be the cause of the loss. If they clean it up, you expect them to be able to win here. They're coming off their second loss in 3 games, 78-76 at Sam Houston State. A disappointing performance for them. They had beaten up Louisiana Tech by 22 prior to that. That was on a Thursday, last Thursday. So Kennesaw State coming in off the 78-76 loss and the 2-point loss the first time that they met UTEP. Let's get through this line history and see what Bobano thinks about this spot. We have Kennesaw State minus 4 and minus 106. They opened up at minus 2.5. This didn't move until 8 this morning, and now it's rolling all the way to a 1.5-point move towards the Owls. When we get to the total for this spot, we have, here we go. Oh, I lost it. We have, God, my apologies here. So many games. We have a 148 at a pick'em. 148 at a pick'em. This opened up at 148.5, dropped down to 147.5. Now it's at 148. So we have a 0.5-point move towards the under. And cash flow wise for this Kennesaw Owls spot, Kennesaw State becoming more and more appealing, but now is there concern that it's moved too far? 2.5 sure is more appealing than the 4. We don't have any information on the spread. We do know that 64% of tickets and 66% cash on the under. Take it away for us here, Bobano. UTEP Miners, Kennesaw State Owls.
Kennesaw, man, how about them? A shout out to them. They've actually come on a little bit here as Conference USA season has continued along. You look at what the Owls have done. They've won 3 of the last 5. The losses were heartbreakers to Middle Tennessee and Sam Houston. 1-point loss at home to MTSU. 2-point loss on the road at Sam Houston State. Covered the number. They've been a good point spread team, 7-3 against the number their last 10. UTEP coming off a home loss to Liberty, 76-69. UTEP took the first meeting, 73-71 at home, but Kennesaw was right there with a chance to win, and UTEP escaped. Kennesaw with that 11-2 home record. I think Kennesaw is the play here. I like their form. They're playing with revenge. They've been very good at home. UTEP has been less than stellar away from El Paso this season. I think it really sets up well here for the Owls. We'll lay the 3.5 minus 106 with Kennesaw.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Coming off a poor performance, but we've seen them dominate just recently.
I mean, there are only 2 losses they could have won. You know, you flip that MTSU game and that Sam Houston State game into a win, and we're talking about a 5-0 team coming into this game, Kennesaw State.
Yeah, I love it. Locked and loaded. I'm going to join you on that one. Let's roll on to our next spot. We stay in the Conference USA for it. The New Mexico State Aggies, 13-12, 6-6 in conference at the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, 18-8, 10-3 in conference. Pete Matthews Coliseum in Jacksonville, Alabama. New Mexico State coming off a dominant home performance. They'd lost 2 straight. They lost by 3 to UTEP. Then they lost to Liberty 64-54. That was last week, Bobano. We were both on New Mexico State. They had a nice big lead at halftime and put up, 19, 20 points in the second half. It was extremely disappointing. Yeah. But they bounced back. They beat up on Florida International 76-48. Now, Florida International's at the bottom of the ledger with just 2 conference wins. But it was a smash and grab for them. Jacksonville State, also a poor performance at Sam Houston State on Thursday, and they bounced back of sorts, beating Louisiana Tech 70-68 on the road. And now they come back home. We last saw them here. They took out Western Kentucky. It wasn't they didn't cover 85-83, but they had just beaten Middle Tennessee State and Liberty, 2 of the top 3 teams in this conference. They're both just behind Jacksonville State by double digits at home. So is this a spot where they didn't look very good on the road that they come in and smash and grab New Mexico State? Let's get into the line history here for this one. We'll start with this total. It's a 135.5. This opened up at 136.5 and got up to 138 before this dropped. It actually went all the way down to 135 before it came back up a half point. And then when we get to the point spread here for this Jacksonville State spot, we have Jacksonville State -6 and -106. I'm not afraid. I don't think that's too big of a number. This opened up at 5.5, 5:06 p.m. It got up to 6.5 last night. Now we're back at a 6. We've had a half point move towards Jacksonville State. And then the question is, let's see how public this Jacksonville State spot is. We don't know. There's no information yet on the side for the spread. We do know that 72% ticket, 73% cash on the under. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Jacksonville State Gamecocks at home, leading the conference right now and wanting to seal the deal. Take it away.
The angle says I got to be on New Mexico State here. I don't know if I want to be, but it is. I mean, they lost at home. It's home loss in conference play. Now on the road as an underdog, catching points in revenge. That's New Mexico State. That's the spot. That's the angle that's been working for me more often. Not always, but like I said, more often than not. It's been a winning, profitable angle. It says to take the Aggies here. But boy, oh boy, it's not an easy bet to make. I mean, we've talked about that horrible second half against Liberty. Blown out at Western Kentucky in their last road game, 101-69. They did beat Middle Tennessee on the road, and Middle Tennessee's got a great home court advantage. So New Mexico State has shown they can get it done on the road. They have, but they are just a very erratic basketball team. That's all there is to it. You don't really know which one you're going to get night in and night out. I will say this, Jacksonville State, they're playing awesome basketball. They're off a huge road win at Louisiana Tech, sweeping the Bulldogs in those back-to-back games. They pulled it out at the end. I was on Jacksonville State in that game. I know there's a lot to play for here. They're playing, obviously, as far as supremacy in Conference USA is concerned. You look at the CUSA standings right now. They are 1 game clear of Liberty, and if they win and go 11-3 in conference play with a win tonight, they take a huge step forward as far as getting the regular season title. I'm going to do it. New Mexico State, I'm going to take them. Coming off that big win at Louisiana Tech, a team they already smashed. Not smashed, but they beat them pretty comfortably, 65-59 on the road earlier this season at Las Cruces. Yeah, I'm going to take New Mexico State here. That angle's been too good. +6.5, -115 with New Mexico State.
New Mexico State +6.5 at -115. That was a tough game, that 65-59 earlier
Yeah,
meeting.
they were competitive. Yeah. Yep.
Jacksonville State just pulled away near the end. I'm very interested in the other side here. I don't know if I get there. I got to see if I have enough conviction here, but I'm interested in Jacksonville State. We have Bobano moving on New Mexico State +6.5 at -115. Let's roll on. And we head to the Coastal Athletic Association, or back to the Coastal Athletic Association. This one's a beauty here. Charleston Cougars 20-7. 10-4 in the CAA at Northeastern Huskies, 15-12, 7-7. We're at Matthews Arena in Boston. The Cougars bounced back from the ugly loss at UNC Wilmington, very ugly. Now, Charleston's a game back at UNC Wilmington and third in the conference, but that was a 20-point loss on the road. And it's a bounce back of sorts. I mean, North Carolina A&T has one victory in conferences here, 1-13 conference. And they, Charleston won by 10, took care of business. Northeastern off back-to-back wins. They won at home over Campbell last Thursday. That was a game that we capped here on the show. I moved on Northeastern in that one. And then they beat Stony Brook at home, 71-60. This is their fourth straight home game, which is a pretty nice situation here for Northeastern. They've played, and it was a wildly exciting game. Charleston won 87-85. That's back on January 18th. Charleston opened up as 7.5 point favorites, closed as 6.5 point favorites. Charleston shot 52.4% from three and took care of business, but it was a very, very tight game all throughout. It was very, very contentious spot. Let's get into the line history here for this CAA spot. Charleston on the road at Northeastern, and see what we are dealing with. We have Charleston right now -1, -108, -1 and -108. They opened up +1. So Charleston has gone from dog to favorite. That's a very successful angle generally for cappers, and Charleston fits it. It's too bad because I like Northeastern. I like Northeastern at home. I like Northeastern feeling like this is a basketball team that has found themselves late in the season, sort of like a Vermont squad. This total 151 -110 to the under. It's now -112 to the under, a 2-cent move towards the under. And when we get to the cash flow, we do have all the information here. 60% of the tickets and 80% of the cash is on Northeastern. 60 and 80. And yet this line is moved to Charleston. Total wise, it's a 50-50 proposition, but 53% cashes on the under. Justin McKelvey with Northeastern in his pocket. Jerry Davis has Northeastern in his basket here. Take it away for us. There's Don Play in the house. Great to see you. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Cougars, Huskies in Boston.
And shout out to a friend of ours on the show. Matt Janning is now the assistant coach with Northeastern as well. So
cool.
That's pretty good. I figured coaching might be something he did after he retired from playing overseas, and that's exactly what he's doing. He went back to his alma mater, Northeastern. He's an assistant coach to Mr. Cohen now. Bill Cohen gave him a shot. And, of course, Bill Cohen was coaching Northeastern when Matt played there, and, of course, he's been there forever, still coaching there, gave him a chance as an assistant. So good stuff there. That's not why I'm on Northeastern, but I am on Northeastern here. I don't trust Charleston on the road. They've had some janky results at times away from home this season. I like the way the Huskies are coming together, playing better here of late. The home court's still pretty strong for them. 7-4 on the season. They've won 2 in a row against Stony Brook and Campbell. Campbell is hot as any team in the country, or in the conference rather. And Northeastern was able to beat them 67-58 at home recently. So I like the spot here for Northeastern. I know Charleston, they've actually won 6 straight, Charleston, the Cougars over the Huskies, but Northeastern's covered the last 2. I think we get ourselves a pretty competitive game here, and I think Northeastern's got the chance to win it here on their home floor. So we are taking Northeastern here at home. Let me see what the best number is. +1.5, -115.
+1.5 at -115. You are locked and loaded, my friend. We're going to stay here in the CAA. Towson Tigers next up, 18-9, 13-1 in conference at Elon. Phoenix 16-11, 7-7 in conference. Elon, North Carolina here for this one. Elon snapped their 3-game losing streak with a very impressive 81-70 victory at UNC Wilmington. Very, very impressive victory. They played teams tough. Elon's a good basketball team, probably better than their record indicates. They went to Charleston and lost 88-83 in overtime in a game where they deserved better. They also won over Northeastern 71-60 at home. This is a solid Elon Phoenix squad, but Towson is just a runaway force. They haven't lost since Saturday, January 4th at Charleston, 77-69. And this team is absolutely rolling. 12 straight victories here, and none over Elon. None over Elon. They've not played Elon this year. This is a lone meeting this year with Elon here. Action Jackson looking at Towson here for this one. Let's take a look at the line history for this. We have, oh, my bad. Here we go. This total 133.5 at a pick'em. It opened up at 133.5, went down to 132.5, climbed up to 135. This has been all over the place. Went back down to 133, back up to 135. We're now right back from where we started at 133.5. So we've had no movement on the total. On the side here for this one, we have Elon +1. So here we go again. Towson has gone from dog to favorite. This did not take long. This opened up at 5:06 p.m. at +1. By 9:38 p.m., Towson was -2. So we're sitting here at 1. So we do have the 2-point move in the dog to favorite situation for the Towson Tigers. Cash flow, we have no information on the spread, but we do have information on the money line. It's pretty interesting. They're telling us that 96% of the money line tickets are on Towson and just 36% of the cash. It's a completely 50-50 spot on the total, 49 and 50 on the over. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Tigers, Phoenix, and Elon.
Yeah, this is one of those deals where I'm not. Sometimes I'm thinking, overthinking it, and how's Towson only 1-point road? Towson's just better. Towson is the class of this conference. I'm not passing up a chance to bet them at a price like this. I'm on Towson here, money line. This is a very scary team. Scary, 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 Skerry is in their head coach, Pat Scary, who's done a great job. And they are scary in both senses of the word. They are great defensively. They're absolutely phenomenal at that end of the basketball court. Best defense in this conference, without a doubt. And I think their offense has really improved throughout the course of the season as well. To beat Monmouth. Monmouth was playing some good basketball. King Rice is a good coach. I mean, they just beat the shit out of them, 80-54 in that last game. No, they're playing great. They have also owned Elon. They've won 4 straight head-to-head games, 6 of the last 7 head-to-head versus Elon. So it's just, this price, I ain't passing it up. So Towson -112.
Towson -112 for here for Bobano. Interesting information here from Spooner. Says this line is telling you Towson's winning streak is going to end. Says Elon's one of the tallest teams in the country, and I think they could give Towson.
I've lost a couple bets, fallen into that trap with a couple of these games where I said, how's this team only -1? And I've actually been on the other side or passed, and I'm like, well, that team still won. That reminds me of Illinois, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's rolling, and I was on the other side of that. Illinois, I said, well, it's buy low spot for Illinois, even though Wisconsin's rolling, and Wisconsin just, these teams that are rolling, I find that they are tougher to bet against than they've been in the past, and they just keep on going, like a Wisconsin so the other night against Illinois. So that's why I'm on them here. I think they're better, and I think they should be a 3-point favorite, 3.5, not pick them.
Bobano on the Towson Tigers -112. Let's head back to the Sun Belt for our next spot. This is our final 7 p.m. spot on the board. The Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns 9-18, 6-8 in conference. The Troy Trojans 17-9, 10-4 in conference. We're at Trojan Arena in Troy, Alabama. We've heard from Gerald Jones. His best bet here on the card is the under 137.5 in this one. We have the Ragin' Cajuns up their second win in 3 games, 79-68 at home over Marshall. We last saw them on the road. They played tough on the road, but pretty weak competition. They barely got past Northern Illinois on the road, 66-64 back on the 8th of February. 3 days before that, they lose 83-82 to an average Georgia Southern team here. And they're back on the road against the Troy Trojans, who are coming off back-to-back road victories. Troy hasn't played at home since the 1st of February. They're coming off a 71-70 win at Arkansas State. That was on the heels of a 74-56 beatdown of Louisiana. They find themselves a half game back of South Alabama right now. A win will put them right where they need to be. They're tied with James Madison. They're a half game up on Arkansas State. So it's a very, very tight situation. A game up on App State. So let's take a look at the line history here for this spot. And these teams just met, right? They just met. It was an absolute debacle for Louisiana, losing 74-56 at home. So we're going to fire into this angle that's been so good here for Bobano with the Raging Cajuns catching points here on the road after a debacle at home. Slow Jams Arsenal says it's a down year for his Raging Cajuns. By the way, Chapidora play today is Idaho State. I believe we have that game on our... Yes, we do. We are going to be talking about that. All right, let's take a look at the line history here for this spot. Louisiana Raging Cajuns plus 15 here. They opened up plus 15.5. It got down to plus 14.5 at 9:30 in the morning. Back up to 15.5. Now we're at 15. Half-point move towards the Raging Cajuns. When we get to the total for this spot, we are dealing with a 137 at a pick 'em. We already heard Gerald Jones' best bet on the under. This did open up at 138 and has dropped a point to 137. And when we get to the cash flow, shout out to Pocket Full. Thank you for joining us, Pocket Full. When we get to the cash flow for this interesting, very, very interesting spot, does Louisiana show any heart whatsoever? Because if they do, you have to think that they're in business early. 37% of the tickets, 34% of the cash on the Raging Cajuns, 62% of the tickets, and 59% cash on the under. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Sunbelt action in Trojan Arena in Troy, Alabama.
It's the angle. Yep, you already hit on it. I mean, Troy won big at Louisiana, and now Louisiana, after a home conference loss, plays that same team on the road, catching points. I have to take Louisiana. And people saying Louisiana sucks. I'll say this about them. Yes, straight up wise they do. They've been competitive lately. They're 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games. The Raging Cajuns. You look at this run that they put together. They won outright as a big road dog at Texas State, who's a pretty decent team. South Alabama is the king of the conference. At home, they only lost by 4 to South Alabama. This UL Lafayette, this Raging Cajuns team. They lost by 1 on the road at Georgia Southern as a 7-point dog. And then in conference, the one bad loss during this run was Troy, this team that they're going to play again tonight when they lost by 18 at home to the Trojans. And then they bounced back, and Marshall, who admittedly hasn't been great on the road, but as a 6-point home underdog, they beat Marshall by 11, 79-68. So believe it or not, the Cajuns have played their best basketball of this entire season, probably in the last month, covering 5 of the last 6. Last year when they played at Troy, Troy only won by 6, 79-73. And Troy's coming off a monster win. Troy was one of my favorite plays last Saturday. I love them in that spot, getting 7 at Arkansas State. Huge game for them in the conference. They end up going on the road. It was a great basketball game, down to the wire. They pulled it out 71-70. This does have the feel of a potential exhale spot for Troy off just a massive win. And Troy's focused on winning this game. Winning by 16 or more is not necessarily on the agenda for them. So, yeah, we're going to ride the angle here. Once again, ULL plus 15.5 minus 110.
Plus 15.5 minus 110. I find it extremely appealing as well. I may only be on the first half, but I like the spot quite a bit. It even really does feel like a bit of a double up spot, but I'm not sure if I'll go quite there. Plus money 305. Thank you for joining us. Just want to say USA. God, it feels so good to have people care about international hockey. It doesn't just feel so good, regardless of what side you are. Thank you for bringing, excitement and passion back to our sport and back to an all-star type situation that we've been missing so desperately. So I love it. Just love it. I love it. So thank you, Plus Money, for adding that in. It's going to be a great game tonight. Okay, let's roll on to our next spot on the board. We head to the Ohio Valley Conference. CIU Edwardsville Cougars 18-9, 11-5 in conference. And the Morehead State Eagles 14-3, 9-7 in conference. LSD Johnson Arena in Morehead, Kentucky. These teams have met. It was a 65-54 victory for CIU Edwardsville at home, an 11-point victory. This was just a rock fight. SIU, SIU Edwardsville shot 16.7% from three. Morehead State just shot 23.5% from three. It was an ugly game, and it was very close until late. But Edwardsville pulled away. They were just 2.5-point favorites in that spot. So does Morehead State have some Rebenga in store here? These teams are moving in different directions. SIU Edwardsville lost 76-71 at home to UT Martin. Bounced back with a home victory, over Tennessee State, 84-72 on Saturday. But Morehead State is got a real legit losing streak on their hands, which is funny because this was a team that was rolling when conference play started, but things have changed. And it started with that loss at SIU Edwardsville. They have now lost 5 straight. They've lost 6 of 7. They're coming off a 72-67 loss at Western Illinois. That was just the Leatherneck's 4th win of the year in conference. I don't know. Feels sort of like trying to catch a falling knife with Morehead State here, even though they were rolling. Shout out to our guy AOD in the house. Let's get into the line history here for this spot. This is the lone 7:30 p.m. game on the card tonight. This total's at 132. It's a 132 at a pick'em. This opened up at 131, got up to 132.5, a half point of buyback. But we have had a 1-point move towards the over here. And then on the point spread for this 7:30 spot, we have Morehead State now plus 1.5. This line's moving towards them. This opened up. Let's get the switch there. Thank you. This opened up at plus 2.5, went down to 2, and now 1.5. This is moving towards Morehead State. I wonder if the cash will follow suit with this spot. Let's see what it is here. We have no help on the spread. But on the money line, and we're not talking about a lot of tickets, just 1,711 tickets in, 99% of tickets, 99% of cash on the money line on SIU Edwardsville. Line moving towards Morehead State, 76 and 79 on the over. I mean, can we look past this losing streak for Morehead State, who started out the conference play so well? Can we look past that? Because if we can, this market is stating that Morehead State is alive here. Take it away for us. Barry Smith on Morehead State money line. Strategic Investment says Morehead State's hit the team total under in 11 of their last 14 games at home. Take it away, Bobano. An interesting one, the Ohio Valley Conference. Morehead State hosting SIU Edwardsville.
I'm hearing a lot of bad things with Morehead. I hear there's issues with players and coaches. I'm hearing some really bad stuff as far as there's just not a lot of harmony right now behind the scenes. And boy, oh boy, it looks like it when you watch them play. Their offense is dead. I mean, they haven't scored more than 67 points now in 5 straight games, 5 straight losses. They haven't covered a point spread since January 23rd. They're losing to the likes of Western Illinois on the road, one of the worst teams here in the Ohio Valley Conference. This team is unbackable, completely unbackable in my opinion. In fact, I'm on Edwardsville here in this game tonight. There's too many issues. It sounds like, and this is a first-year head coach as well. And it may be starting to look like he's maybe over his head, Jonathan Maddox. And it's just, and this is a program that's always been very good. But yeah, there's issues right now with this team. Edwardsville's playing some really good basketball. They've won 4 of the last 5, 6 of the last 8 overall. You look at them against Morehead. They won the first meeting 65-54, very comfortably in that game. And I've figured it out a couple days ago or a couple games ago to start fading Morehead, and it's paid off. So I'm going to go back to the well. They've shown nothing to me that tells me there's a way to turn this around. So maybe they do, but I've got to see it before I believe it. So for me, it's SIUE minus 118.
Minus 118 on the money line here for the SIU Edwardsville Cougars. Let's roll on. Head over to the A-Sun for our next spot. This is an absolute beauty. North Alabama Lions playing great ball. 20-8, 12-3 in conference. At Lipscomb Bisons 19-9, 11-4 in conference. Allen Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. This is an absolute beauty. The top two teams here in the A-Sun. Eastern Kentucky is tied with Lipscomb, but these teams are very good. North Alabama just rolling. One of their victories, they have won 9 of their last 10. One of their victories, it was the second win here of this stretch of winning 9 of 10, was at home over Lipscomb. They beat Lipscomb 74-64. This was back on January 23rd. North Alabama, it was a pick'em, -110 each way, and North Alabama dominated the boards and won the game comfortably. They've now on a huge winning streak, coming off the 80-62 victory at home over West Georgia on Tuesday, a weak West Georgia squad. Now they get out on the road and face Lipscomb. They only have 3 games left in conference. I mean, we're nearing the end of the season. Lipscomb coming off an ugly 66-57 loss at Eastern Kentucky, 66-57 here. That snapped their 5-game winning streak, but maybe it was the wake-up call that they needed. This is a huge, huge game for the Bisons. This is all hands on deck here. Let's take a look at the line history for this spot. Lipscomb is 7-point favorites. I mean, just a huge amount. They opened up at 6. That was at 8:43 a.m. Quickly moved to 6.5. Well, hour and a minute. It took an hour. 6.5. Then back to 5.5. They were toiling around at 5.5. Then they got up to 8. They were 8-point favorites at 11:30, and now we are back at 7. So we've had a 1-point move, a real legitimate move towards Lipscomb. God, there's a lot of points against a very good North Alabama squad. When we get to the total, we have a 149. I see a lot of 148s on the marketplace. This opened up at 147.5 and then got up to 149. So we have a move towards the over. And then when we get to the cash flow, we have no help on the spread. We do know that 62% of the tickets and 58% cash is on the under. This is a beauty. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Lions, Bisons.
This might be the game of the night across the board. You know, this is the two best teams in the Atlantic Sun. They're both phenomenal basketball teams in this conference, and they're battling for first in the conference. North Alabama has the edge. They have a 1-game lead on both Lipscomb and Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky, the Colonels are still very much alive for first place in this conference as well. You look at this matchup. Lipscomb, they are off the loss at Eastern Kentucky, 66-57. So it's definitely a bounce-back spot here for Lipscomb at home, where they beat up FG, Florida Gulf Coast, and Stetson in the last 2 games. So definitely a bounce-back spot for Lipscomb. You do respect the home court to a certain degree. No question about that. That being said, this is a very, very good North Alabama team. In fact, I think they're a little bit better than Lipscomb because I think they defend a little bit more consistently than Lipscomb does. They've gone on the road and they've beaten North Florida. They did lose at Queens. Queens does have a good home court. They won big against Austin Peay and West Georgia on the road. They've covered 6 straight. They've won 6 straight. In the series history, Lipscomb has really had a tough time with North Alabama. North Alabama's won 4 of the last 5 meetings. They've covered 4 of the last 5. The only win was Lipscomb by 9 last year between these two teams. You're just giving this great North Alabama team too many points, in my opinion. So I'm on the North Alabama Lions here, plus 7.5 in this one, minus 112. I like the over, too. I know the first game was lower scoring. Lipscomb overs at home have been huge. I mean, these games have been going over the total. Lipscomb coming into tonight, they are on a 5-0 streak to the over in their last 5 home games. And I like this angle where the first game went under at North Alabama back in January. Often I like the rematch to kind of go the other way. So I'm on over 148 minus 110 as well.
And the over 148 minus 110 as well for Bobano. Firing away the Lions of North Alabama. It's a wildly interesting line at this point. More than I thought. You know, Rogue Energy puts it perfectly. Where was it? He said
I think they might be the more mature team, North Alabama, too. Because Lipscomb has this game coming up with North Alabama. They know it's a huge game, and they spit the bit against Eastern Kentucky in the game before that. Maybe a look ahead for Lipscomb. North Alabama, in their last game against West Georgia, they put the boots to them. There was no look ahead, 80-62. They got the job done. They destroyed that team. So maybe a little more maturity for North Alabama. There was no look ahead for them, but there was for Lipscomb.
That's true. Now, they didn't cover the first half against West Georgia, who's such a weakling, it was tight there with about 8 minutes left in the first half. But you're absolutely right; they won by 18 and covered. Rogue Energy says if it wasn't Lipscomb off of a loss, I'd take North Alabama. He says 7.5 is way too much in his opinion, which I agree with. Let's roll on. Bobano has moved there. We head back. Oh no, we stay in the A Sun for this one. Jacksonville Dolphins 16-11, 10-5 in conference. North Florida Ospreys 14-14, 7-8 in conference. UNF Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville coming off 2 straight losses. One was at North Alabama, 92-79, and North Alabama, very good team. Then they lose 72-56 at Florida Gulf Coast. That was a poor performance by these Dolphins here. North Florida snapped their 3-game losing streak with a win over lightly regarded Stetson, 79-71 at Stetson. So they come back home. So both these teams have been on the road for 3 straight games. The Dolphins played North Florida, and it was a beauty. It was Saturday, February 1st. North Florida won 81-78 on the road. Also, North Florida was dominating this basketball game. It was 49-28 at the half, and Jacksonville came all the way back and almost won it. Outscored North Florida by 18 in the second half. So it does fall into place here for an angle that's been very profitable for Bobano with Jacksonville now on the road catching points. Let's see what they're catching, actually, before I say that. We have on the total for this one. Sorry, taking me a second to find it. We have a 158. It's actually 150. Well, it's all over the place. I see 158 and a half. So I see 157 and a half. So it's opened up at 157 and a half. Now we're up at 158, but it's heavily juiced to the under, minus 123 to the under. So it really hasn't moved. It hasn't moved a half point. Maybe you can call it a quarter point. I don't know if you call it anything. And this is North Florida +1. So Jacksonville's not catching points here. Jacksonville opened up -2 at 8:24 a.m. At 10:13 a.m., this had a 3.5 point swing towards North Florida. It's come back 1.5 points. So Jacksonville is still a 1 point favorite, but that's -104. It's basically a pick 'em. But Jacksonville opened up at -2. So we've seen a lot of movement here in this one. When we get to the cash flow, we only have information on the money line. On the money line, 66% of the tickets, 65% of the cash is on Jacksonville. On the total, 72 and 72 on the under. Take it away, Bobano. A-Sun action in Florida. Jacksonville facing North Florida in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, this is the angle. Jacksonville says bet Jacksonville here. They lost at home to North Florida in the first game back in earlier this month, February 1st, 81-78, and a real close game. And what I like about that is, Jacksonville was down big early, but they battled all the way back, and they ended up making it a 3-point game in that one. Should give them a little bit of confidence. North Florida, we go all the way back to the non-conference part of their season when they were turning some heads with the way they were playing. But you look at North Florida since then, and they're actually a losing point. They've been a disaster point spread-wise, really, ever since that red-hot start to the season. They now have a losing point spread record, 10-15-1 against the spread, North Florida, the Osprey. So they haven't been nearly as good. They've had some bad losses, too. They get blown out at home by Florida Gulf Coast. They barely beat Stetson, who aren't that good, at home by 1. Bellarmine, they beat by 7, but they've been bad ATS at home lately, this North Florida team. They entered tonight 0-4 against the spread, their last 4 at home. I know Jacksonville's had a couple of rough road games in a row. They got whipped by Florida Gulf Coast. They got blown out by North Alabama, but no shame in that one. North Alabama, the cream of the conference here. I like how this sets up for Jacksonville. I don't mind going against a North Florida team that's been burning money at home, that's really struggled. They've been not great all year defensively, but they haven't been nearly as good offensively of late. Their efficiency numbers have dropped a bit. They still don't defend. They don't guard anywhere close to good enough on a consistent basis. I like how this sets up for Jacksonville. We'll take them here, and we'll take them +1, -115.
Jacksonville +1, -115 for a Bobano. Let's roll over to a big spot here. Lone ranked team playing today. We're at the Xfinity Center in College Park, Maryland. USC Trojans 14-11, 6-8 in conference. At the number 20 ranked Maryland Terps 20-6, 10-5 in conference. See what we are dealing with here, line history. This is the lone meeting between these two teams this year. The Terps are -12 at -105. They opened up -10.5, so 1.5 move towards Maryland. Let's take a look at the total here from a total perspective. We have a 154 at a pick'em. This opened up at 153. We've climbed a point to 154. When we get to the cash flow, we have 58%. Oh, it just moved. So 57% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the Terps line, moving pretty quickly in their direction. 76 and 75 on the under. The Trojans coming off that 69-66 loss at home to Minnesota. They had beaten up on Penn State prior to that. Now they head back on the road. Last time we saw them on the road, they went to Northwestern, lost by 2, then went to Purdue and got crushed by 18. The Terps have won 3 straight games. They are playing good basketball. They destroyed Iowa at home on Sunday, 101-75. Is the same in store for the Trojans? An ass kicking. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Big Ten action at College Park, Maryland. The Terps hosting the Trojans.
Yeah, that's definitely. I didn't have to really think twice about this one. I like the over. Maryland's just on fire offensively. Give Maryland credit. Kevin Willards, he's done a good job. I know people are still kind of thinking, he could have done more with some of the teams he had at Seton Hall years ago, but he's still a quality college basketball head coach. He's done a great job with Maryland. They're having a great season. They're lighting it up offensively, and that's a big reason why they've gone 7-3 to the over in their last 10 games. With Musselman and USC, you're going to get them playing fast, playing with pace, trying to get out and run in transition. Maryland's not against playing that way. They're a little bit more deliberate as far as pace is concerned, Maryland, but they certainly don't mind playing that style, and their transition offense lately has been great. I'll just ask Iowa. They destroyed Iowa's transition defense in that game on Sunday. So 2 good offensive teams. USC not always. They struggled against Minnesota, but I like to think that USC bounces back. I mean, that was one of their worst offensive games they've had in quite some time. Kind of reminds me of when they lost to Wisconsin 84-69. They bounced back, and it was a bad offensive night for them. They bounced back the next game, and they beat Nebraska on the road and scored 78 points. So I think USC, after one of their worst offensive games of the season, losing at home to Minnesota, suddenly a loss that's not so bad after seeing Minnesota beat UCLA the other night. What a comeback by the Gophers late in that game to take down the Bruins. So I think we see points, and more points. Should see pace as well. So yeah, USC Maryland for me over the total in this one. Best number currently is over 153.5 -110.
Over 153.5 -110 for Bobano. Is Maryland appealing to you here, or you believe the Trojans sort of bounce back or come in sharp off that loss? They did look much better in their first road game, which we've seen a lot of these Western teams do, and then look a little tired or disheveled in the second. Actually, that's not true. We've seen
they had some nice road wins. Nebraska, Illinois, USC. They've gone on the road. I actually lean Trojans a little bit, but do I really want to step in front of the Maryland Express right now? They've been really, really good. They've been lighting it up offensively. They've been a good point spread team as well. Here down the stretch. I just felt over was the better look.
I hear that. I'm interested in the Terps. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on it as well. Super true story. Also thinking this is a smash and grab spot for the Terps. Speaking of super true story, this leads us into his second play today, which is Wichita +8. We head to the American for this one. Wichita State Shockers 15-10, 5-7. The American at the Florida Atlantic Owls 15-10, 8-4. Here in the American. We're at Boca Raton, Florida. Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena here, home of the Owls. Take a look at the situation here. Wichita State, another team that seems to have found themselves late in the season. A storied program here, the Shockers, coming off a huge win at home in overtime over Memphis to really cement themselves as maybe a player in this conference tournament. Just 5-7 in conference, but 4 important 4 straight wins. Started with Charlotte on the road, beat South Florida on the road, took out UTSA at home, and then their season-defining victory. What do we do after a team has a season-defining victory? We generally fade them. And fade them would be the right thing to do, possibly against this Florida Atlantic team, who's also rolling right now. 5 straight victories for them, 6 wins in their last 7. This is also their lone meeting with Wichita State this year, so there's no Rebenga, there's nothing of that sort going on in this one. Also, though, Florida Atlantic does have Memphis on deck. Is this a look ahead spot? Possibly. Will they be as focused as they need to be? Oh, thank you. Here, let's get that banner switched. And here we go. Okay, so here we go. Line history wise for this 9 p.m. start. This total is a 156. It's juiced to the under. I see a lot of 155 and a halfs out there. This opened up at 153 and a half and climbed all the way up to 157 before there was 1 point of buyback. Now let's take a look at the point spread here for this very, very interesting spot. Two hot teams facing each other. Florida Atlantic -7.5 and -112. Is that too many points? It's moved 4 cents in their direction, just 4 cents. In their direction. We don't have any information on the spread. We do know that 76% ticket, 72% cash is on the under. Great job, Mr. Belvedere. You hammered yesterday. Wofford was just a gift for us. That was beautifully done here. Super True Story says, simple cap for me here. Real look ahead for FAU has Memphis on deck, who bust the ass by 30. I like where Super True Story is here. Take it away for us, Bobano. Shockers, Owls, and Boca Raton.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Wichita State's coming off just a gigantic win against Memphis in overtime at home, and I watched that game. That's about as good as I've seen the Wichita State home court this year as far as atmosphere. They were into that, and they have not drawn as well this year because of the struggles of the team, but they showed up in droves for that Memphis game, and it really willed that Shockers team to beat Memphis, and it was a great basketball game. So they're coming off Memphis at a letdown spot maybe for Wichita, going on the road, but it could be a look-ahead spot for Florida Atlantic facing that same Memphis team this weekend coming up. So what do you value more here in this spot is the big question. Florida Atlantic's been rolling. They're not an easy team to step in front of, there's no doubt. But they did have a tough time. They did have their hands full with Temple in their last game over the weekend. Wichita State has played pretty solid defense of late. It's what allowed them really to beat Memphis. I thought they defended really well, defended hard throughout that game. You look at the last two meetings, Florida Atlantic won both, but one of those games was in overtime. Wichita State, after a brutal stretch, they've turned it around. February's been good to them. 4-0 straight up, 3-1 against the spread. And the only point spread loss was when they were favorites at UTSA, and they only won by 5. Florida Atlantic, they've won 5 in a row, but suddenly you look at last two games. The Charlotte game, they were big home favorites. They did not cover. They were road favorites at Temple. They won, but they did not cover. Is Florida Atlantic a little bit overvalued? Potentially. I like the way Wichita is going. I'm on the fence here. I'd be on Wichita 1,000% if they weren't off that game against Memphis. 1,000%, because I like the way they're playing. They're catching points. If you actually look at what they've done as a road dog recently, they won outright at South Florida as a road dog. I was on them in that game. They won at Charlotte around a pick'em. They were at Memphis, 12-point road dog. In fact, they led early in that game before losing by 8, but they still covered. They've been a good road underdog and good on the road in general lately, Wichita. So I lean Wichita. Just worry about what we get from them after the huge win.
That win has me concerned as well, but it doesn't have DC Capper or Super True Story concerned. It does have me concerned enough just to stay off. That's all. Just to stay off here. Some sad news, especially for the Cappers who are going to San Antonio here shortly for the Sixers Spurs game. Wemby done for the season with a shoulder injury.
Oh no! What the fuck?
Done for the season with a deep vein thrombosis, says our Ramon Scott. So, terrible news there. But I'm just gonna be drunk at the South Town anyways, playing poker. So, but still, it does affect the city. And we have the big mural there. By the way, you'll see there'll be a waft of blunt smoke coming off that mural for the entire weekend. Let's roll on here. We have 4 games left in 10 minutes, so we got to speed it up a little bit. 9 p.m. Eastern, Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, 17-9, 6-7 in Conference USA. What's a show here on Thursday with Bobano without us capping the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs? Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders are who they are facing, 17-8, 8-4 in Conference. Murphy Center and Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Louisiana Tech has lost 3 of 4, coming off a tough loss at home to Jacksonville State, 70-68 on Saturday. Middle Tennessee rolling right now. Middle Tennessee winning 3 of their last 4, just that lone loss at Jacksonville State. Playing good ball. Beat UTEP by 3 at home. Went to Kennesaw State, beat them, and then went to Western Kentucky and beat them 87-77. And they're climbing up the conference standings. They find themselves now just a game and a half back of the aforementioned Jacksonville State Gamecocks. And these teams faced each other. Back, when was it? On January 25th. It was a 75-69 victory here for La Tech at home. It was an extremely close game throughout. La Tech took care of business as 2.5-point favorites, and took care of business down the stretch here. And Nuke Worker giving us the information on the deep vein thrombosis. Says it occurs when a blood clot forms in one or more of the deep veins in the body, usually in the legs. It can cause leg pain. Scary stuff.
No.
Hopefully it's not something that he has to deal with for the rest of his career. La Tech, Middle Tennessee. Let's get into the line history here. Louisiana Tech +6 at -109. They opened up at +5. This went down to 4.5 this morning, and now we have a 6. So we've had this 1-point move towards the Blue Raiders. Let's take a look at the total here for the La Tech spot. We have a 139.5, very slightly juiced to the over at -111. This has come down from 141.5. And when we get to the cash flow, we have, again, no help on the spread, but we know that 66% of the tickets and 66% of the cash is on the under. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Bulldogs, Blue Raiders in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I think when you look at this particular game, I like over a little bit here. I'll make the over official. I was leaning Middle Tennessee, revenge spot. They lost at Louisiana Tech earlier this year. I think they're the better team as well. But just a few more points than I was willing to lay with Middle Tennessee. I could see this still being a close game. Middle Tennessee hasn't been as good in this moderate favorite range. Some of their recent home games, they've got a great overall home record, 9-2, but a couple of these recent home wins, UTEP, they only won by 3. They lost outright against New Mexico State at home. So they've had a couple of these games where they haven't exactly won by this kind of a margin, but I do lean to the Blue Raiders. I like over 139.5, -104. This is a series history play for me. 3 straight have gone over the total with these two teams.
Over 139.5. What was the juice?
-104.
-104. You are locked in. I have interest in Middle Tennessee State. Giving La Tech back in
that way. Yeah.
That was a ton of energy that was just expended too in that Jacksonville State loss. They put it all on the table here. And I like the Rebenga factor. I like the way Middle Tennessee's playing. I find that spot very appealing. I'll take a look at it more after the show, but I do expect it to be on my card. Let's roll on, and we have our first foray into the Big Sky. We've had a couple cappers tell us their plan in the Big Sky involving this game. The Skunt Blaster is on Idaho State money line, and is DC also on? No, I know that someone else is on Idaho. Oh, it was the Chapidor play today from our guy Strategic Investments is also on Idaho State here. A little Big Sky action. We have 6 more minutes of Bobano. If we can't get to the last game, we'll just hear his take, and then we will cap it on our own. Bobano, as always, spectacular work, my man. Love watching you cap. Portland State has won 3 of their last 4, and that last win was a thing of beauty. Really kind of cemented their place in conference, winning at home over Northern Colorado, 82-71. Northern Colorado in second. Of course, Montana leading the way here in the Big Sky. Idaho State coming off back-to-back losses. They lose 81-68 at Montana. That's followed up with a loss, of course, Montana on top of the ledger, at Montana State, who are also a good team, but 74-69. So back-to-back losses. They've been on the road for 3 straight. They haven't been home in a while, and they are back here. So can the Bengals give something here to the Vikings? These teams played, and it was a Portland State smash and grab at home, 76-59. They were in complete control throughout the game. They were just 2.5-point favorites. Idaho State shot just 15% from 3, 31% from the field. So is this a bounce back spot for Idaho State? Jerry Davis going to be on Idaho State here. Let's take a look at the line history. On the total, we have a 140.5, slightly juiced to the over at -112. So 2 cents of movement towards the under. On the point spread here for this one, and we'll just get Bobano's looks on the next two spots here. Big Ice Guy show popping off at 2 p.m.
Well, it'll be a short show. It's not big prep today with just one game. Yeah.
So can we keep you around for 5 extra minutes?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, great. Oh, that's great news. Okay, great. But let's keep moving here quickly. We have Idaho State -2 and -108. They opened up -1.5, got up to 2.5. This has been bouncing all over the place. 2.5 back down to 1. Now we're back at 2. We've had a half-point move towards the Bengals. We have no information on this spread. We do know that 56% of tickets, 70% of cash is on Idaho State, 61 and 62 on the over. Portland State Vikings, Idaho State Bengals, and Pocatello. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Idaho State here. I think this really sets up nicely for the Bengals. They're off a couple of tough road losses, and they did lose their last home game, but it was against one of the best teams in the conference, Northern Colorado. Although you could say Portland State just beat them at home, so the common opponent, Portland State, played better. Portland State, look, they are playing well. 3 of the last 4 they've won, but they have had some clunkers on the road. Drilled by Montana. Lose it on the road to Montana State. They lose as favorites at Eastern Washington as well. So not been nearly as reliable, the Vikings on the road. I like how this sets up. Still a team that's got a very good 8-3 overall record in a spot where all they have to do is win to cover the number. So yes, I do like Idaho State here. I do think they bounce back. Nice cheap price with them on the money line here, -128.
I would like to join you on this Idaho State spot. The squad all rocking with Idaho State. We have 2 games left on today's card here for college basketball, and this would be the one game that can compete with North Alabama Lions and Lipscomb Bisons. This is an absolute beauty here in the Big West. CSUN, Cal State Northridge Matadors, 18-7, 10-4 in the Big West. At the UC Irvine Anteaters, 22-4, 12-2 in conference. We're at Brent Event Center in Irvine. We have CSUN rolling. This team is rolling, playing their best basketball of the year right now. They've won 5 straight. They've won 7 of 8 games. One of their losses here, and there haven't been many, was to UC Irvine. They took out Cal State Northridge by 10. That was at Premier American Credit Union Arena in Northridge. CSUN shot the ball horrifically. They played a bad basketball game there. They were down 41-24 at the half. They battled back a bit in the second half. Still, they shot just 37.5 from the field and 14.3 from 3. So does CSUN have an answer for the Anteaters? Irvine rolling. They had the debacle against UC San Diego. I made the mistake last week, Bobano, of thinking that they would bounce back in a big way against UC Santa Barbara. And I was wrong. They did not play well in that game. UC Santa Barbara had every opportunity to win it. It was a tipping at the buzzer that kept UC Irvine in business. UC Irvine was 8.5-point favorites. They opened up as 9.5-point favorites. They didn't look good. They didn't bounce back, and they didn't look good. And then they followed that up with a big 66-49 win at Hawaii. So that was impressive. Hawaii's not a bad team, and anytime you win on the Big Island, it's impressive enough. Rogue Energy says this is the game. This is the game here. He's feeling CSUN here. Let's take a look at the line history here for this big one, 10 p.m. Eastern. We have UC Irvine as 6-point favorites. They opened up as 6.5-point favorites. This got up to 7. This has been 7 a couple different times. It was 7 at 8 in the morning. It was again 7 at 10 in the morning. Then it got down to 5.5. Now we've stuck at a 6. We've had a half-point move towards the Matadors. When we get to the total for this spot, we have a 148.5, slightly juiced to the over. I see 149s and 149.5. This has dropped a half point from 149 to 148.5. And then when we get to the cash flow here, we have no help on the spread at this point. Just 75% of tickets, 71% cash on the under. Take it away, Bobano, a beauty. Matadors, Anteaters in Irvine.
Yeah, I like Northridge here. It's the angle. It's losing at home to Irvine. Now you're on the road catching points as an underdog in the rematch. They're on a roll. They've won 5 straight, this Matadors team. Very impressive on the road as well. They've shown the ability. They went to Hawaii and beat the hell out of Hawaii, Northridge. They won outright as a dog against Santa Barbara. The only dud they've had on the road was the Tritons of UC San Diego. Other than that, they've played some really good basketball on the road. I know they're off a couple of close game against Cal Poly where they were 10-point favorites and they didn't cover. But like the way Northridge is playing, they are scoring the basketball very well. Irvine at times has shown a couple of dicey games defensively. I don't know if this is as good an Anteaters defensive team as we've seen in the past. So I think we've got ourselves a competitive game, revenge spot for Northridge. I like their form. They're getting a healthy amount of points here, plus 6.5, minus 110. We'll take CS Northridge.
I would like to join you on this. Plus 6.5, minus 110. It feels like the Matadors are peaking right now. And here's their test. You go into Irvine and see if you can take out them here. Kong, sad news. Sad news. We talked about it here just a little bit ago. Sad news. Let's roll on here. Our final spot on the board. My card's shaping up. Got a lot of spots I'll be joining Bobano on here. I'm excited. Let's talk about our final spot here on the board. Another nice one. 11 p.m. Eastern. Head over to WCC of Loyola Marymount. 15-12, 7-8 in conference. At Santa Clara Broncos, 17-10, 9-5 in conference. Santa Clara, California for this one. Let's get this all set up. Sorry, I thought I had it set up. Let's get this one set up. This is the final spot on the board over here. Little late night action for us, which we love. This totals at 148 minus 113 to the under. This opened up at 146.5. So this one's climbed. It got up to 149 before there was a buyback. We still have a 1.5 move towards the over. Then on the point spread, all right, give me a second here. Come on. Computer's moving a little slow. Here we go. On the spread, we have Santa Clara minus 11.5. This is a big number. They opened up at 11.5 at 5:20 p.m. Then it got to 12.5. So it was an immediate move in their direction. I've been bouncing back from 11.5 and 12.5 here. Cash flow wise, with this being a late game, we're unlikely to go. Oh, no, we have all the information. 57% of the tickets, 77% of cash on the Broncos, 79% of the tickets, and 73% of cash on the under here. I wonder, is this too many points? Let's quickly set up what's going on with these teams of recent. Loyola Marymount off 2 straight losses. They've lost 4 of their last 5. Santa Clara coming off that 73-64 loss at St. Mary's. Does that set up Santa Clara for a smash and grab here against the Lions of Loyola Marymount? These teams have played, and Loyola Marymount stepped up. They won 57-54 at home. Santa Clara played horrifically. This was back on January 16th. Santa Clara shot just 36.2 from the field and 15.4 from 3. Loyola Marymount won outright as 4.5-point dogs. Does Santa Clara have something? Oh, here. Sorry, fellas. I'll get this moved over. Here we go. Does Loyola Marymount have something in store? Or sorry, does Santa Clara have something in store for Loyola Marymount? Coming off a loss against a very good team, coming off a loss, heads up against this squad. Take it away for us. Rogue Energy says Loyola's going to get fucked up. Take it away for us, Bobano. A nice one in the WCC to end the night.
If they play anything like they did against a very weak Portland team in their last game, they absolutely will get fucked up, Loyola Marymount. That was ugly. And if you actually look at Loyola Marymount in conference play, yeah, they won and covered at Pepperdine. Yeah, they won and covered at San Diego. The Toreros, and they beat Pacific on the road, but they didn't cover in that game. But when they've gone up against the better teams, and Santa Clara is not St. Mary's or Gonzaga, we do want to stress that, but they are close, one of the closer teams to those top 2 teams here in the West Coast Conference. And you look at some of those, and other than the Portland loss was a dreadful loss on the road, 89-78 to the Pilots. But look at the games for Loyola Marymount on the road against the heavyweights of the conference. At St. Mary's, they lost by 25. 81-56 at Gonzaga, they lost by 20, 73-53. This feels like a blowout spot. Santa Clara off the loss. They're 10-3 at home. You look at what they've done at home as well. They destroyed Washington State at home. They destroyed a very good San Francisco team, 77-54 at home as well, Santa Clara, the Bronx. They destroyed Pacific at home. And, of course, they blew out San Diego, their last home game. I am laying the points here with the Bronx, Santa Clara, to get the job done. Minus 11.5, minus 104, Santa Clara.
Yeah, it's a very appealing spot. I'd like to join you on that. Could have a lot of late night action. Let's review all action here from our guy Bobano. First off, in the Four Nations. Let's get this off. Here we go. In the Four Nations, we have our guy Bobano on the first period over 1.5. First period over 1.5. That's at plus 105. In college basketball, Marshall, Old Dominion. He's on the over 146.5 and Old Dominion plus 4.5. Then he's on Georgia Southern plus 8.5 in the over 137.5. I do have interest in Albany, by the way. I have interest in Albany in that second game. Bobano did not move on that one. But then we have Georgia Southern plus 8.5 in the over 137.5. I have interest in Delaware again. Drexel's been smashing them year after year. I'm not sure if I get there, but I'm interested. By the way, DC Capper, Austin P plus 6.5, Monmouth plus 6.5, Southern Utah plus 8.5, Wichita State plus 7.5, Sacramento State plus 6.5.
I like Monmouth.
DC
Monmouth's a good
Capper.
one. I like that one. Yep, that's on my card.
I will take a closer look at that spot. Bobano on the over 141.5 in Northwestern Ohio State. Bobano on the over 144.5 in UNC Asheville, Radford. This is another spot. We talked about the similarities of Delaware and Radford. I'm interested in both of them, but it's dangerous. Vermont plus 2 for Bobano. I'll be joining him on that. We talked about the Chapiadora play the day, Idaho State for strategic investments. Bobano on Georgia State plus 10.5, and he's on Kennesaw State minus 3.5. I'd like to join him on that. He's on New Mexico State plus 6.5. It's an interesting spot. I do lean toward Jacksonville State. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We had a beautiful shout out to our friend Matt Janning, now the assistant coach at Northeastern. Bobano backing his Northeastern Huskies plus 1.5 at minus 115. Bobano on Towson money line at minus 112. He's on Louisiana here plus 15.5 full game. I'm also interested in Louisiana. I wonder if it's just a first half spot for me. Bobano on SIU Edwardsville Cougars. He's on North Alabama plus 7.5 and the over 148.5. I like Lipscomb, but it's a lot of points. If I'm leaning towards the first half look on Lipscomb, I don't know if I get there. Bobano's on Jacksonville plus 1. He's on the over 153.5 in USC Maryland. I do kind of feel like it's a Maryland smash and grab. I'm going to take a little more time on that. Super True Story, play the day number 1, South Indiana. First half, play the day number 2, Wichita plus 8. Bobano on the over 139.5 minus 104 in Louisiana Tech, Tennessee, Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders. I'm interested in Middle Tennessee. Bobano on Idaho State minus 128. I'm interested in joining him here. All these last spots, I'm interested in joining him. He's on CSUN plus 6.5 minus 110 and Santa Clara full game minus 11.5. And Spooner says you should look at Central Arkansas, West Georgia spot after the show. I really like Arkansas from the X's and O's stance. Thank you. I will copy and paste that. Ricky Levine says one of the books line change USA minus 115, the other minus 110 was minus 105. Yeah, I think with the idea that they're telling us that the Kachucks are both in and Matthews is fine. I expect. Remember, we are in Boston. In the most important games, the home team does have a nice ROI in game 7s and in this situation. Now, we already heard about Binnington's spectacular play in this very building in game 7 in 2019. So it'll be a fun game tonight. Great stuff, Bobano. I'm going to keep copying and pasting the action here from cappers in the chat. Rogue Energy, Brian Moneyline, UC San Diego, and Santa Clara. Bobano, spectacular work. Please support Bobano wherever he is, whether that's the Ice Guys, whether it's the Hitting the Books YouTube channel, or it's the NBA OG show on the Ski Profit YouTube channel. Please support him on X at Bobano Bets. Bobano, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your angles and your hard work. Great capping with you as always. And please support our friend. Bobano, any last words for the Capper Sport in the show?
No, just let's have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the hockey game. Should be something else. But good luck with college basketball. NBA, too, returns with their first full slate since the All-Star break. So good luck to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Good luck to you, Jimmy, as well. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, my friend. There he is, Ian Cameron, joining us on Thursday, February 20th. Spectacular work. Well, I've seen some ugly records on our show. Now we get to put on some beautiful ones. Our next guest is running hot. He now, after 45 bets, has a double-digit ROI. We also watched him 2 years ago flirt with 60% against the spread all year long. Looking forward to rock here with this tricky NBA card coming out of the All-Star break. Please welcome from Los Angeles, California, our guy, Darryl Rice in the house. What up, D? How are you, man?
Hey, what is good? What is good, Jimmy? Another Another week, man. NBA is finally back, man. I'm pretty happy about that. So, peace and love to everybody in the chat. I want to not get away from saying, man, that every day on this side of the grass is
It's a
a
good day,
it's
Daryl.
a
It's a
damn
good
good
day.
day, brother. A damn good day. So I hope everybody's doing well. We've had a little layoff. Had the Lakers play yesterday. Um, if you want to call that a game. But yeah, this card is very tricky. And as many games as we do have, I didn't move on anything much. So hoping we could talk things out. You give me your expert opinion, right? And we try to make some money here.
I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to Lil Domo in the house. Brandon Cummings, OG Lowbagger, ready to get to work. Dan Kelly gave us the Nets to make the play-in tournament. Yes, at plus 2,000.
Wow.
15 to 1 now. 15 to 1 now. He says, look at the standings. 15 to 1 makes no sense for this prop here. Money moves picks Canada money line, the over 5.5 and over 2.5 goals for Canada plus 300 for money moves picks. Let's get to work, Daryl. You are running
Let's
real
get to
nice.
work.
I imagine that you've heard the bad news about Wemby done for the season.
Yeah. So, what's going on? It didn't have anything to do with the All-Star game, did it?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell, why they would think, let's take a shortcut here in the All-Star game. It was a
Yeah,
question.
well, I ask you that because a lot of NBA players are going to be like, "See, I told you so." If it had anything to do with the All-Star game, why? Because is trying to redefine how the All-Star game is played. He wants to go hard at all times. Pause. But you know, the NBA players have never, the seasoned vets, the American players, they've never really been about that life as of recently. And you've heard the discord about how the game has been ruined because they don't put any effort into the game whatsoever. And so I would hate for it to be because of the All-Star game of, if it was at all. And then the NBA players, the seasoned vets, the guys say, well, see, there you go. There you go. This is the reason why we don't go all out. Just abolish the game altogether, probably.
Everything in the NBA is being hurt by the fact that the players all like each other.
Yeah.
We all remember the 80s and the early 90s. I mean, the hate was so, immediately you think of Lakers, Celtics, and Bird Johnson, and Bird told me all the
Absolutely.
time he wanted to smash Magic Johnson in the face. And then,
Mhm.
come on, the Bulls and the Pistons. I mean, the hate for the opponent was something so special about that era. And maybe we never get back there again.
Right.
The hate also was involved in the All-Star game, because these guys really hated each other. And I miss that. Hate makes sport more enjoyable. It always has for me, but
Yeah.
we can talk about this all day. Let's talk about making money. 7 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern, Daryl, we get started. Memphis Grizzlies 36-18, 15-12 on the road. The Indiana Pacers 30-23, 14-8 at home. We're at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. Indiana here at +2. +2. They opened up at +2.5. It got up to 3 around 7 in the morning, back to 2.5, and here we are at a 2. We've had a half-point move towards the Pacers as home dogs. From a total perspective, we have a 250. This is a double digits. Oh, I guess the Chicago-New York total is at 243.5, but by far the highest total here
It's the highest.
on the card. This opened up at 252 and dropped down to 250. It also dropped down to 249 before there was some buyback, up 250.5 now at 250. Let's get to the cash flow here for the I'm on college basketball. Let's get to the NBA cash flow. We have wait for it to check in. 69% of tickets, 74% of cash is on the Grizzlies. Let's take a look at all markets because maybe money line, same deal. 67% of tickets, 73% of cash on the Grizzlies. 60 and 59 on the over here. Shout out to Mikey Money. We got sports money in the house. Let's roll. The Pacers, all these teams have been off since February 12th. The
Mhm.
Pacers disappointed me in that last game. We watched them lose quite badly to the Knicks. I was on the Knicks. It was a pretty easy cap. The Knicks had just gotten destroyed by the Celtics at home. So, of course, they were going to take it out of the Pacers. But then, in turn, I thought the Pacers would do the same against the Wizards in the final game of the year, and they did not do that. Needed overtime to get past the Wizards, 134-130. Obi Toppin, 31. Benedict Mathurin, 28. And now, and I'm going to go, I'll bring up all the latest injury information from shoot-around, but Miles Turner expected to be back dealing with the neck strain. Expected to be back. He got hurt on February 6th. Pascal Siakam was the only player in the All-Star game for the Pacers. For the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson was in the All-Star game, but Zach Edey and Jalen Wells were there for the Rising Star team. Ja was not selected as an All-Star.
Right.
He's been dealing with injuries. He's only played 32 games. Is he an angry guy for that? Did he want the time off? I don't have those answers here. Take it away. I've not moved on any basketball, any NBA here thus far.
Mhm.
I still cannot comprehend the Lakers have 9 turnovers in the first quarter, and I can't cover the +4 first quarter. That's as angry as I've been watching first quarter. That was the ugliest quarter I've ever seen, and I couldn't cover it. It made me so frustrated. But we move on to today, and I did catch the full game, so lost a little bit of it.
Really?
Take it away, Darryl. Grizzlies, Pacers at Cambridge.
Yeah. Number one team in the league in the first quarter scoring is Memphis. They're giving you 31.7 for the season. Last 3, no, it's been a break, but that's been 33.7, so they're over their season average. That last game, they had 39 points. First game they played against Indy was at Memphis, and that first quarter score was 45-28. So you see where I'm going here, right? You see where I'm going.
I do.
That total for that game was 229.5 with the spread at 6.5. That's where it opened. And we're looking now at 20 points, 249. It's scary to play overs, especially when a number is steamed up high enough to where you probably missed the number. So you're screwed there. But then why is this total so high when you're coming off a long break? You always have the magic words rest and rust, rest or rust. Are we dealing with a team or teams that are just rested and they come out a little flat? Or are we dealing with teams that's probably gonna, a little rusty and they're gonna hit the front of the rim, not really make shots? I don't I don't think that's the case with this matchup. So with me, the way I'm gonna play this is the over 61.5 points in the first quarter. Now, it was the cool off period, and Indy got off to a quick start. But if you remember in that third quarter, Memphis put up 40 points to Indy's 23, which got them back in the game, which they eventually did end up winning by 15 points. So I didn't see anywhere where I think, in my opinion, that this game shouldn't be pretty quick and that the 60 points or 61.5 points would be a problem. I also like Memphis full game here. I do. I really do. So I guess these could either both be losers or both be winners. I don't think they're going to be one on one, but I'm leaning to the fact that they'll both be winners because of how these two teams play each other. I believe it will be fast. I believe there will be buckets scored, and I wouldn't be surprised if this still gets to like 250, 260. Even though that number steamed up as much as it has. So, but I do like the Grizzlies full game. It was at -1.5, if I'm right. And now we're getting a -2.5. I'll step on the 2.5 now for the show, and I'll also step on the over 61.5 first quarter total points. I do believe that these teams are going to score.
Let's get you in there. I never saw a 1.5. Let me check a couple of different books. This opened 2.5 here, got up to 3.
Okay,
Now,
so
now we're back at 2. So I can get you
yeah,
that -2 flat, -110.
I guess I need to stop looking at ESPN bets because
Yeah, I would do that too because my pops That's what he looks at too, and so I don't think it doesn't give
Yeah,
the
you're
right
right.
idea.
Yeah, I'll stop looking at that. But yeah, not unless I see something way. Yeah, I don't see any 1.5s. I see a 2. So, which is better for me at that. So I like that. I like the 2.5 there. I do believe that they can close out this game, but you should see some points in the first quarter.
See, I'm sort of on the other side here of the spread, and I don't know how much action I want on this first day back. I mean, I think it was a pretty simple spot to kind of trust the Hornets last night as double digit dogs. That was pretty simple, but I mean, I don't understand, expecting either team to kind of be locked in here. Uh,
Mm.
I don't and so the market. I don't know. I don't know if I have enough conviction to go up against you here, but I do find the the Pacers at home here, where they clearly were improving until that last couple games before the All-Star break. They were playing really good basketball. The Grizzlies have been a great team all year. Carlisle's pretty pumped up about the opportunity of the Pacers getting to face the Grizzlies here to open things up, but I don't know if I have the conviction to go against you. I kind of want to see how this bangs out here. A shout out to Aaron Malavo, coming to us from the Philippines. He always joining us from the Philippines. Respect and
Wow.
love. Great to see you.
Osaka, Aaron.
His team did get crushed by Chinese Taipei yesterday
Oh.
in FIBA qualifiers. But shout out to our guy Aaron. Kelly McKinnon on Indy plus 2.5. I'm going to need more time here. I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to have a conviction on anything coming out of the All-Star break.
Right.
Here, and I don't want to get too caught up in how disturbingly atrocious the basketball game was last night. I mean, there was
Yeah,
like 35 points scored in the second quarter. I still didn't want a live over.
I know. So that game just got away from the Lakers, man. Once Charlotte just went on that run, I think it was like a 20-2 run, 17-1 run at one point. It was a 14-0 run in like under 2.5 minutes. It's just one of these runs, man. And it was once the game got back to, you're coming in the fourth quarter, and I do believe you're tied like 83 apiece. At that point, you gave all the momentum to Charlotte, and for whatever reason, man, once you got Melo going, he just could not miss, bro. He could not miss.
He looked
So,
good. The Hornets look pretty good. I mean, they should be thankful that the trade didn't go through. But let's roll on. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board, 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, we have heard from Wine Time, and his best bet here is the 76ers plus 7.5. That's his best bet here
really,
on the board. Let's get into it. Boston Celtics 39-16, 22-6 on the road at the Philadelphia 76ers, 20-34, 10-17 home. We're Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We don't have 7.5s anymore. I'm sure you could find one. This is a 7. And that's where this opened. This opened at Sixers plus 7, minus 110. It was juiced towards them. Then it did get to 7.5. It was at 7.5 around 7 Eastern this morning. It stayed there until about 10:50. And then it came back again. It was back at 7.5 again an hour ago. So we have 4 cents of movement towards the Boston Celtics here at this number. We have a total of 225. This opened up at 224.5, dropped down to 223.5, came up a half point at 225. We have the sweaty butcher in the house. Says, in the words of Ski Prophet, good teams are motivated after the All-Star break. Look for them to come out firing. And he says the 76ers are the Celtics' little bitch.
oh wow,
That's what he has to say here about this.
he said it.
Let's get to the cash flow for this spot. 71% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on the Boston Celtics, 79 and 81 on the over. These teams were clearly heading in opposite directions coming into the All-Star break. The Celtics had won 7 of 8. The Sixers were the opposite, losing 7 of 8. Sixers finished off that first half with that really ugly 196 loss to Brooklyn Nets. Oubre and Grimes went for 30 apiece. That's how you know the state of the franchise. Paul George gave you 2 points on 1 of 7 shooting. Embiid missed the game. He's only played 17 this year, but he was full participant at practice on Tuesday, and he's fully expected to go. No injury designation. Lowry out, Gordon out, but Maxey, Oubre, George, Yabusele, and Embiid. That's the 4-5. On the other side of things, Tatum looked great. 32 and 14 in that 116-103 victory over the Spurs on February 12th. He's rolling, averaging 27 a game. Jaylen Brown averaging 22.9. And KP coming off a very impressive game. 10 of 16 from the field and 29 points in that win over the Spurs. Take it away for us here, Darryl. Celtics, Sixers.
I don't want to play this game. I was looking at unicorn points, also his threes, but I don't have a good read on this game, to be honest with you. We will be probably regurgitating that stat that says road favorites coming out of the All-Star break since 2015 are like what? Was it 34 and 32 and some change straight up, and then 24 and 13 ATS? So doesn't say what that number is. So it could be double digits, single digits, single possession. I don't know. At any rate, I just didn't have a good read in this game. The way I would have went, but I saw it shot down really low, was taking Paul George under his assists. And his assists are usually at 5.5. They're down to 3.5 now. And I was just like, okay, that's too low. But I would still take it. I don't have the unction to do it. So for me, there's no play on this game at all. For me.
I'm interested in joining Wine Time here. The break couldn't have been better for any team, or more important than any team than the Sixers. They needed it so badly. They're sitting here a game and a half out of the play-in. I mean, if Nurse can't put this together, I would be pretty surprised. Now you have a very healthy Embiid. It's very uncomfortable going up against the Celtics here. Sweaty Butcher says the Sixers need a lot more than a break. Nice Nate, the Celtics can smash. I'm curious to see what happens with this line. I think that the Sixers should be able to stay in this basketball game. First game off the break, they needed it. And they need to step up here down the stretch, and they're healthier than they've been. I don't know if I get to the window, but I can understand why Wine Time is on it. And he's been running extremely hot in NBA, as you'll see when we put his record up tomorrow. So I get it. I don't know if I get there, but I'm interested. Let's roll on. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I really believe that this team needed to break desperately, the Orlando Magic. When the season started, these guys were juggernauts. And then they had to deal with injuries. And the injuries, I mean, Banchero was playing the best he's ever played in the NBA when he got hurt. And, Wagner, I mean, Banchero averaging 22.5, I should say, 7.1 boards, 5 assists. Wagner averaging 25.1, 5.6 boards, 4.9 assists. And they needed the break. They're also hoping to have Jonathan Isaac available. We do not think Jalen Suggs. I mean, he's still being non-contact in practice, so nobody thinks he will be. Yeah, he's out. He's out, but he's the only one listed as out. Jonathan Isaac back, that will help. Krejci and Nance are out. And Krejci is becoming what we expect an important piece. Trae Young is on the injury report, but he's listed as probable. Trae Young will be in for this one. Oh, sorry. Thank you. We'll get that changed here. So let's roll. Magic just 10 and 19 on the road. Hawks 500 team at State Farm. Orlando, this is an important game. Orlando in 7th. They have a half-game lead over Atlanta. Both are trying to get to Detroit to get that number 6 spot and avoid the play-in here. Trae Young played in the All-Star game, and Risache was in the Rising Stars game.
Say that again.
Risache. It's I don't know, Risache. I think I need to hit the
I say Rise Archer. I don't know.
Sure. He is a number 1 overall pick, though, which makes sense. We should probably look. I messed up his name to start the season, and I was like, kind of ass clown. I'm going to talk about NBA. I can't pronounce the guy. Went for overall here. And
some respect on it.
Now, Snyder. I did a uncomfortable deep dive on Snyder. Hell of a basketball player in his day, and he is a guy who's he's a cup half full kind of a coach. And it's probably pretty easy or I shouldn't say easy. It must be hard when you come from Utah and Utah to Atlanta. But he's a guy who has a lot of positivity around him. He's very excited about Nang, Levert, Terrence Mann joining the team. He has roles for all of them. It's only been 3 games. Levert 15.7 boards in the 3 games. Nang 15 points. I can't. When Nang plays defense, I point and laugh, but he can't hit threes. Man, just 5.7, but it's a big. It's a help to this team that's lacked depth. Capella is supposed to be available as well this week. He's not. No, but he's not even. But he's supposed to be available off the bench. He's not listed on the injury report.
Yeah. I don't see it as props though. I don't know if he plays.
He's missed 8 games with the back issue. But as we said, no Nance and no Krejci. Let's get into the line history and then hand it over to our guy, Darryl. Darryl running hot, having 2 monster shows in a row. Let's see if he can make it 3. This total opened up at 221.5 and climbed up to 224. Now we have 223.5. And then on the point spread, we have Atlanta plus 1.5 minus 102. They opened +1. They're now plus 1.5. I think that's a very telling line here. I wanted to talk this one out because I'm interested in the Magic. I mean, people aren't betting the Magic. Just 25% of the tickets, 30% on the spread. Just 36% of tickets, 47% cash on the money line. 78 and 84 on the over. I'd like to get in here on the Orlando Magic. Wine time is on the Magic. Reza Shea says Action Jackson.
Reza Shea. Let's get it right.
Take it away for us here, Darryl. Magic Hawks at State Farm.
Yeah. So what do you do here? Okay. This is the way I looked at this game. First off, I do like the Magic here, but I think I need to play it safe. And that is just go with Franz Wagner points. Right? I got it juiced at minus 126 over 26.5. Right. And this is the reason why. The reason why I attacked a prop on this game and not the game itself is because I looked at when the Lakers grabbed DFS and a skilled player, right? He's coming on to the Lakers and they put him in the game. And you don't know, he doesn't really know the plays, the schemes just yet, getting adapted to the new players and all that. And he has these kind of staggered minutes that he plays, but it's just a filling out process. And I just feel that when you have additional players like that to a team, like Atlanta has, that you're going to have this filling out process. And I think Orlando right now is more settled and ready to make a push in the second half of the season, or almost the third, the final half of the season, if you will, final third of the season. I don't know if I could play Atlanta just yet until I see them play a couple of games together, to be honest with you. Right. So I would have to look at Orlando. And Orlando is still, to me, I mean, they're 2 games under 500. Atlanta's 3 games under 500. Right. So both these teams are, we would consider Atlanta underperforming versus Orlando. But we have had a ton of injuries for Orlando, right? And these guys are just getting back to healthy. And so they can make a push now. But I think the golden goose right now would be Franz Wagner and his points. So if I can get 26.5, I wouldn't be surprised if he landed right on 27, right on his average. But for right now, I just feel that's the way to go. Trae Young's assists are pretty low. With him averaging right now, I believe he's at 11.5 assists, and they got him at 9.5 for props here. That's 2 under his average. So that was really, really juiced. So maybe they're thinking he's going to hit that, or they might move it to 10.5 before tip off here and give it some plus money. But I just like Franz Wagner. I like his points here. So I'm going to stick with Franz Wagner and his points. Again, I would play the Orlando Magic over Atlanta because you have what you hear me say a lot all the time, too many moving pieces. And these guys need to get adjusted. Good players, but they still need to get adjusted. So I'm going to stick with Franz Wagner. I think that's the safe play here. And I do like it against this Atlanta Hawks team who's got to get a little familiar with each other and the new players.
I am interested in backing the Orlando Magic here, and I expect to do that. I had been expecting to, for the last 24 hours. Capella props are up, by the way, so I see the Capella prop. So he's not on the
Really?
injury report. He'll be in.
What are his boards? You see his boards?
Yes, 6.5, but it's minus 172
Yeah.
over, which is just ridiculous. I can
Yeah.
find a different book, but
Yeah.
here we go. By the way, the points over for Wagner here is minus 129 at 26.5. What do you have?
I got 126.
We'll give you that. Over 26.5 to minus 126 for Darryl. Darryl on the board here at State Farm. So he's got the first quarter over 61.5 in Memphis, Indiana. He's got the Grizzlies minus 2. Then he has Wagner over 26.5 points at minus 126. I'm interested in the Magic here. I expect to get there. The Sweaty Butcher gave us the Surf and Turf. Celtics team total over 116. Grizzlies team total over 125.5. Together, that's a plus 250 for the Surf and Turf.
Yeah. I mean, what do you have for Boston's team total first half? Is that at like 63?
Let's grab you that right now. The first half team total for the Celtics is 59.5, juiced heavily to the under.
Wow. Juice to the under. That's weird because I'm going to think about that. They're giving you, well, it's right at their average. They're giving you 59.4 for the season. Last three, 59.7. I just don't see how they don't get there. I'm going to think about that one. But that, if we're looking at the team total over, they should easily get that to half.
Well, let's roll on. We'll see if you add the Celtics first half team total over. We move on to Dan Kelly's Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes, sir.
44-10, 19-6 on the road. At the Brooklyn Nets, 20-34, 9-17 at home. We are 6 victories away, Dan and I, from cashing the Brooklyn Nets season team total over 25.5. Again, when Dan Kelly tells you to make a move in the futures market, listen, he gave us Atkinson Coach of the Year at 22-1. What a performance by Atkinson and his Cavaliers here. Shout out to our guy, Dan Kelly. Let's roll. Sweaty Butcher says the over in this Cavs game is one of his favorite plays today. Cavaliers 44-10, 19-6 on the road. Brooklyn Nets 20-34, 9-17 at home. Cavaliers are rolling again. Surprise, surprise. 4 straight wins heading into the break. 44-10, 4 wins away from last year's total. I mean, this team is just wild. And the thing that Atkinson has done is there's no Thibs overplaying his stars. Mitchell's averaging 31.3 minutes a game. Garland 30.2. Mobley 30. And they're not the only team playing their best basketball. The Brooklyn Nets playing their best basketball this season. 6-1 over their last 7 games. And the big part is in those 6 wins, they're allowing 91.5 points per game. Speaking of 80s basketball, felt a little bit like it. Coming off the 196 victory at home over the Sixers on February 12th. They just shut the Sixers down. The Sixers shot 43.2 from the field, 24.2 from 3. D'Angelo Russell got some run, 22 points against the Sixers. Trendon Watford went for 18. Claxton went for 13. Claxton has double-digit points in 9 of his last 12 games. He also has 22 blocks in his last 7 games. He only has 66 this year. 22 in his last 7 games. He had 5 blocks against the Sixers. Let's take a look at the line history here for this Philadelphia spot. Oh, sorry, for this Brooklyn spot. We have Brooklyn plus 13. Plus 13. They opened up plus 13 minus 106. They're now plus 13 minus 103. It's always dangerous against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the East and the Oklahoma City Thunder in the West. because they just keep smashing you. They have a workmanlike effort, and it's scary to fade them when they're double-digit favorites. This total opened up at 225.5. We now have a 225. And when we get to the cash flow here for this one, we have 38% of the tickets and 30% of the cash on Brooklyn. 83 and 86 on the over. And we heard from Sweaty Butcher, who loves that over. Take it away, Darryl. Cavs, Nets, in Brooklyn.
Nope. Don't want to take this way. Do not want to. Don't want to. It was. Here's the funny thing. It was either all in or all out. It was either going to be, hey, I don't give a fucking shit about this game, or give me Cleveland. I don't give a fucking shit what the spread is. But all in all, it's a large spread for me that Cleveland should cover. They blew them out by 30 points in the last game, right? But they hadn't played since December last year. And then the game before that, it was really close, 105-100 that Cleveland won. So all in all, I really feel this is a blowout, man. I really do. I feel that this is another blowout, and Brooklyn doesn't even hit the century mark. But I just don't have enough confidence to push the button on it and just say Cleveland, it doesn't even matter what the spread is, they're going to cover it. So, yeah, this is the game I'm off.
Yeah, we're not talking pace, but you're hearing me not talk about pace or field goal percentages, 3-point percentages over the last 5 games, because it doesn't mean anything after a break. So we'll give them 5 games each to get rolling. We'll start doing that again, but I never use them after the All-Star break. It just doesn't seem to help. Rod Zawacki says bet on home teams off a home win, playing with 3 or more days rest. Since 2021, 50 and 20 against the spread. Justin McKelvey on Garland over 26.5 points and assists at -110. Kelly McKinnon says Cavs smash easy. And as you saw on the screen, Dan Kelly saying the books are expecting Allen to have a huge rebounding night. Put Allen alt rebounds.
That's crazy. I see him at 10.5, but it's juiced to the under. But I don't doubt Jim Kelly, man, especially when it comes to his Cavs.
Yeah. Dan knows what he's talking about. Yeah, when he's talking his Cavs. I don't find anything appealing here. I'm sorry. The one thing that I can't doubt is the Cavaliers putting their boots on and going to work.
Why not?
I just can't doubt it. I mean,
Isn't that the whole motto of Cleveland? Like a bunch of grads. That whole city of Cleveland is just a bunch of lunch pail. Let me wear my, my lugs and my UGG boots and go to work and grind it out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they do.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't challenge it off of a break, and I'm not going to.
I got you. Yeah.
Let's roll on. Let's roll on. Bulls Knicks. God, this was once such a great rivalry. What the hell is happening? Bulls 22 and 33, 12 and 14 on the road. New York Knicks 36 and 18, 19 and 10 at home. We're Madison Square Garden, New York. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a total at 243.5, second highest on the board. Opened up at 243, dropped down to 242, got up to 244. We've seen a half-point move towards the over. Let's take a look at the point spread here for this one. From a point spread perspective, New York Knicks are -12 at -102. They open -12 at -111. We've had 7 cents of movement towards the Chicago Bulls at this number. We have 48% of the tickets on the Bulls, 43% of the cash, 67% of tickets and 57% cash on the over. Be the first game for Knicks and Bulls since February 12th. New York took out the Hawks 149-148 in overtime, and the Bulls lost to the Pistons 128-110. How the Knicks allowed the Hawks back into that game in the last 10 seconds was difficult to watch. The Bulls 10th in the East, 1.5 games ahead of the Sixers and the Nets, and they've been in the play-in the last 2 years. They won a game in the play-in the last 2 years, and they're trying to get back there. So they traded away Levine, got rid of the contract. Zach Collins, Herter, and Trey Jones come over, and they won their first game after the trade and then lost 4 straight. And they didn't just lose 4 straight. They got destroyed in 4 straight. The average margin of defeat was 24.5 points. Very, very ugly performance from the Bulls, which is what I expect to see from here on out. Waiting for Robinson to be back fully healthy. We have Anunoby with a foot injury. It's such a relief not having to watch him play for my basketball team and wonder whether he's going to be playing every single game. Let you guys deal with that. And then when you watch how good he is on the floor, that is a joy because he's not going to be there when you need him most. Take it away for us here, Darryl. Bulls, Knicks, and MSG.
Yeah. I mean, Bulls suck right now. I mean, they don't suck, man. They suck. I mean, and they're just getting blown out. They lost to Detroit twice, 128, 110, 132 to 92. They lost to Golden State, 132 to 111. At Minnesota, lost that game 127 to 108. Like, come on, man. I mean, teams are putting up whatever number they want. It seems like Bulls don't care. That's what it seems like. And I feel the play here should be the team total over for New York. I really do. But again, I think you don't have Josh Hart this game, right? You've got lines for OG. I don't see any lines for Josh Hart.
Yeah, Hart's out.
And it's too many unknowns for me again. I just feel that this should be a blowout on the New York end. But again, I have these reservations because these are the times where I'm thinking about rest or rust. And this is one of those games where I'm like, okay, are these guys going to come out flat? I even looked because I had been playing a lot of threes on Townsend in the beginning of the season. And now I just kind of been off of it. I look now, and his threes at 1.5 threes is at minus 186, man. It's crazy. So all in all, I don't have a good read on this game either. I do believe the play here is the New York Knicks team total over because people are getting whatever they want. But if this was a game that didn't happen after the All-Star break, then I would be more comfortable with it, but I'm not.
Yeah, it's Knicks or nothing. I agree with that. I just don't know if I want them to win by 12. You know, when you're a losing shitty basketball team, the break is very important. I know that we talk about the edges that the successful teams have coming out of the break. They're more focused. It is helpful to have very helpful to have a break if you're a shit basketball team as well.
Right.
To kind of refocus and say, okay, we got 28 games to play our best. I'm going to put the Knicks down here as a possibility. I don't think I get there, though. Let's roll on. 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Clippers-Bucks. This is the one game where the injury report is very difficult.
And the news.
Yeah, well, with Portis. But for Kawhi, we now know he will not. That's old. Kawhi, we don't know what's up with him. Game time decision. Amir Coffey as well is a game time decision here. So we don't know with those two guys. Bobby Portis, not going to be seeing him around here. 25-game suspension violating league's anti-drug policy. This is a big loss. So we know that Kuzma is getting a ton of run, but Andre Jackson is going to be getting a ton of run. And then Connaughton, Livingston, Tyler Smith may get some more run. So no Bobby Portis. And then you have Dame and Antetokounmpo and Jackson all questionable. Lillard questionable with the hamstring. He didn't play the final regular season game of the season. You have Andre Jackson questionable with a right wrist sprain, which he wasn't in on the injury report until recently. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo also he hasn't played for 6 games with a calf strain. You would expect, everyone expected that he would be back here, but he's not at this point. So let's get into the line history here. It's somewhat tricky with these injury issues. Clippers -3 at -107. They opened up -1, so it's a pretty legit move towards them.
Yeah.
It did get up to 3.5 an hour ago, but we're back at 3. We go to the total here for this Clippers spot. We have a 228.5. It's juiced to the under. This opened up at 227.5, climbed up to 229.5. And then when we get to the cash flow for this spot, 45% of the tickets on the Bucks, 41% of the cash. Clippers have 55 and 59, 80% of tickets and 90% of cash on the over. Again, but Bucks are going to be monitoring the status of Giannis for the rest of the season. He has the right knee pain one day. He's got the strained left calf the next day. You have Dame with the strained right hamstring. Kuzma, though. Kuzma's looked pretty good. 16.3 points, 8.5 boards in 4 games with the team. A lot of nice words have been said about him. And then you have Ben Simmons making his Clippers debut last game before the break with the Jazz. He looked good, 12 points, 8 boards, 6 assists, 26 minutes. Kawhi missed that game, but he's expected to play here. I know he's listed as game time decision, but he's expected to play.
He's going to play.
And this is also a long road trip. So you got 7 games here on the road for the Clippers. It's going to help with the capping, knowing the situation that they're in. Take it away for us here, Darryl. Clippers, Bucks at Pfizer.
I do like the Clippers. I do. I like the 1.5 better. I did. I don't know how to play this game either. I was listening to Ski, and Ski had made a valid point about something, and I had to think back at it. And that is, Harden does not like Giannis at all. Remember, during the All-Star game, or during the All-Star that weekend, Harden had made some comments about how it's easy to be tall and just put the ball in a hoop. You got to have skill to do what he does, but you don't have to have skill to do what Giannis does. And it was a blow at him. And I remember that I remember that quote. Now, wasn't that verbatim, but basically in so many words, he was saying that Giannis is not a skilled player, right? He's just tall. So you could see Harden go up here, and by Ski's design, he said, you could possibly look at Harden's props and his points. I don't have a read on this game here. Me personally, I like Kuzma and his props a little better. I didn't see anything in my book here, and now we got the Portis news with him taking the tramadol. I don't know how to play this game either here. So this is another game that I don't want any parts of. Again, I would like to see how these teams come out and play.
It does feel like the Bucks are in a bad spot. You get the Portis news; it's going to be disappointing. You have Dame and Giannis both trying to come back from injuries. They're certainly not going to play 35 minutes. And speaking of what Harden said about Giannis, I don't think Harden should probably just shut his mouth. But
Yeah.
I watched Giannis go for 50 one game. And he played terrible. He played terrible. He took terrible shots. He cost his team the basketball game with his terrible shot selections, and he went for 50.
And he went for 50.
It's different. He's just a different type of player than Harden. When Harden goes for 50, it's generally a thing of beauty. So I think the Clippers are the spot here. I don't see how the Bucks would be ready to go. I really don't. I do not see how the Bucks are going to be ready to go here. We haven't seen Giannis in a while. Dame also made the All-Star game more of a priority than his own basketball team. You have Kuzma playing hard, working his way in, but that is kind of balanced with Ben Simmons, who looks like he's going to try around these vets, and being in LA where he can suntan and beat a little bitch that he is.
Yeah.
I think that the Clippers are the bet here. Market's telling us they're the bet. I think the Clippers are the play here. I didn't coming into this, but after sitting with it for a little longer,
I'm going to make a move because I think I can get ahead of this. What is the news on Norman Powell?
Norman is good to go, fully healthy, ready to rock.
There isn't any new news on the injury report?
No, nothing. He went for 41 in that last game against the Jazz. 41. 13 and 26 from the field. First 40-point game of the season. Guy's a.
So nothing additional on Norman going to questionable at all?
I don't have anything. I don't have anything.
Does anybody see anything about Norman in the chat?
I don't have him on the injury report on two
Okay.
different sites.
Oh yeah, hour ago. Norman Powell, knee, now questionable Thursday.
Jesus, really?
I'm gonna make a move on this. Give me Bog's threes.
Okay.
I am gonna make a move on this. Bog over 1.5 threes. I have it at minus 113. I'm making a move on this now. I'm gonna try to get ahead of this. Because if Norman by chance is ruled out, then that's your corner three shooter, is Bog.
What did you get on Bogdanovich?
113.
Minus 113. Okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna get ahead of this. Yeah, Norman Powell is now questionable, that knee. We got a road trip going. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he sits.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna wait. God, it's
Yeah,
so
I'm making a move
frustrating.
on it. Give me
What
Bog
was
squared over 1.5 threes at minus 113.
beautiful? That is a minus 122 offshore, so minus 113 is a nice price. Okay, let's roll on. We move on to 9 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets 14-39, 5-19 on the road. Denver Nuggets 36-19, 19-8 at home. We're at Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. God, the Nuggets were rolling. 8 straight wins going into the All-Star break. We have the total at 229, slightly juiced to the over. Opened up at 228, now at 229. Of course, Charlotte on the second half back-to-back after winning at Crypto 100-97 last night. And now they head to the thin air, and the market is acting accordingly. This opened up with the Nuggets minus 16. They're now minus 16 and a half. Just huge, huge numbers here. From a total side of things, from a cash flow side of things here, we have the 50% of the tickets and 52% of the cash on Denver. I mean, it's a huge number. 72% tickets, 80% cash on the over. Action Jackson says the Nuggets will do what the Lakers should have done.
Yes.
Westbrook missed 7 games with the hamstring strain. Porter sat out 3 games with the hamstring tightness. Gordon has missed 23 games this year. So Michael Malone's been just going from lineup to lineup here with this squad. These guys are all game time decisions here. Porter, let's see, he is listed as probable with the hamstring injury, so Michael Porter Jr. will be in. Aaron Gordon is listed as probable, so Aaron Gordon will be in. And then the final question is Jamal Murray. Jamal listed as questionable is probable. So all 3 of the questionable players for the Nuggets are in. And we've talked about the line history. We've talked about the cash flow. So the Hornets on the second half back-to-back. Mark Williams, 10 points, 9 boards. I wish he got that 10th board for wine time. He still had a great day in NBA. 10 points, 9 boards in 29 minutes. Here, he's going to be obviously a center point for this squad as they move forward. But LaMelo played great. Is he going to for sure be in the lineup on the second half of a back-to-back? I mean, he's not listed on the injury report. Take it away for us here, Darryl. Any interest in Hornets Nuggets?
So this is what I'm thinking. Come back from a hammy, D just smash the unders, right? And so I looked at Westbrook. His assists right now are 5.5. I was thinking about going under there. Also, his points are at 10.5, and I looked at going under there. I just don't know how much he plays off of a hammy. He's had an extended break, right? He's rested, missed games, had full treatment. Will he be ready to go? I'm not sure, but I feel like his unders are a play. I also like Christian Braun and his over on his points. But again, I don't know how to gauge it. I don't know which one is better. Charlotte Hornets.
You had Christian Braun on last week, and you cashed that comfortably.
Yeah, it's Brown should be the play. I said Braun, but Brown should be the play. And I don't know if I'm just getting too cute with taking Westbrook and his unders, right? So I got to think about this a little more and see what happens with this. But this should be an absolute blowout. Yesterday's game should have been a blowout, right? So we've got that. We've got that situation again where you've got a team who's playing a back to back, and they're traveling at that, and they're playing in altitude, right? So these are things that don't work out or well in the favor of Charlotte. Also, Miles Bridges, his threes are at 2.5, right? And so you know he's chunking up a lot of them. I think LaMelo put up 12 by the fourth quarter. Miles was right behind him with 10 or 11. So I do think there is some I've got it at minus 106. That might be pretty good value, knowing that he shoots those threes in bunches. So for right now, looking at the props for these games, but again, I'm going back to it. I know I sound like a broken record. I don't know how at least Denver is going to look, right? Charlotte just might come out and play pretty well. It is a back-to-back, but they're coming off a break. And they got warmed up in LA. Maybe these shots fall a little easier this game. So for right now, I don't know how that'll go. So no play for me.
Well, let's roll on. I don't feel comfortable backing a team of 16-point favorites with three key players coming back from injury in the first game of the All-Star break. It just doesn't appeal to me. But let's roll on. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Suns, Spurs. Obviously, we're all dealing with the big news of Wemby being done for the season. It's too bad. Moody Center in Austin, Texas for tonight's game. So it's a homecoming for KD. He sounds really excited to be back at the Moody Center. 1 year for University of Texas, of course, 06-07. And this is the first of two games here for the Spurs. They play Detroit tomorrow here at Moody Center, home of the University of Texas. So let's set this one up here. Line history and cash flow. By the way, Brandon Cummings is on Nuggets Hornets first quarter alt spread. Denver minus 2.5.
I can see that.
Let's get into the line history. So obviously, there's been a huge move here. This opened up at midnight at +2 for the Spurs, but there's other books that brought this line out, a couple days ago, like the site we used to play poker at. They opened this up Tuesday at 1:11 p.m. They opened this up with the Spurs -3. So the word came out last night. The books knew last night that Wemby was done. So this moved to +1.5. That was a 4.5-point move. Now we have +3. So we have a 6-point move with Wemby.
Yeah, quick. Do you think that the NBA knew about the Portis news last night also?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought that. Okay.
This total opening up at 237.5. We have a half-point move to 238. So, and Dan Kelly saying Charlotte going from sea level to elevation back to back means you can fade them in the second half if the opportunity presents. Free bands play today from Dougie Wise is the Phoenix Suns -2. Phoenix Suns -2. See, this is the spot where generally I want to back the team that has just found out that their star player is not going to be there. I can understand Dougie Wise from seeing an advantage from an X's and O's standpoint, but we just see these teams step up time and time again without their best player. And so obviously the Spurs are interesting. I'm interested in backing them. Phoenix lost 3 in a row and 6 of 7 going into the break. KD was playing his heart out. Bol actually was looking pretty good as well. But this is a team that's a mess here. And now we have the Spurs 6 games under 500. That's the lowest. That's the most games under 500 they've been all year. Of course, they pick up Fox at the deadline. It was a 5-game road trip that he was on, and they were just 2 or 3 there. So he still hasn't played at Frost Bank, I believe. He hasn't played at Frost Bank. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for this spot. 53% of tickets, 53% cash on the Spurs. I mean, how many of those tickets were in before they found out about Wemby? 69 and 78 on the over. I am interested in the Spurs here. Dougie Wise says the Suns fighting for the playoffs. They are, but I do fear if you expect fight and character from the Phoenix Suns. I do. It's not a fun thing to do here. We do not we expect Booker to be in the lineup, right? But there's been no, he's still listed on the injury report. So is Grayson Allen, still listed on the injury report. Take it away for us here, Darryl. Second to last game on our card today, Suns Spurs.
Defense is cooked. You know that for sure. There's no defense with San Antonio right now. At all. At all. San Antonio over the last 3 games before the break, obviously, was giving you 66 points in the first half. Phoenix averages 58 points in the first half. And San Antonio is allowing 57.5 points in the first half. So you see where I'm going with this. I do believe Phoenix can just score whatever they want. I really do. Team total that I'm getting for Phoenix is 58.5. I'm going over first half team total, 58.5. I think Phoenix is going to score at will, easily. And there's absolutely nothing, in my opinion, that San Antonio can do about it now. Especially, you already weren't having defense. Phoenix can probably put up 150 points tonight. But I like them first half. 58.5. I believe this could be an easy 62, 63 points in the first half for Phoenix. Especially with no Wemby at this point. Yeah, everybody's got to get up. But yeah, you can't replace Wemby. Man, give me Phoenix over 58.5 points. I love that play.
I can get it at minus 111. Danko said that makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. And Dougie Wise says it perfectly. He says Spurs team defense wasn't great with Wemby.
That wasn't great with Wemby. That's what I'm saying. They weren't great with Wemby, man. Now you got him off the court. You're not going to worry about him at all. You got a pure scorer in KD. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, the Spurs defense is going to be horrific, but it's not like the Suns are going to show any defense.
You're right.
Either.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to look at this from a spread perspective, right? Like Phoenix, it's not like they play the best defense either, right? I was just looking at their numbers, and like Phoenix is 20th in the league with points allowed per game. I mean, San Antonio is actually better than them by a point, but they're still better than them on opponents' points scored per game. But yeah, 238, wouldn't be surprised if that goes over. But I absolutely see Phoenix scoring 59 points in the first half.
But offshore, you could have got this total over 230 yesterday morning.
That's crazy.
So I don't think anybody. It's just bad business to take an 8-point difference. Now I know you're now dealing with information that Wemby's not in the lineup, but
right.
It's just bad business for 8 points. I like where you're at. Suns team total over 58.5 minus 111. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know what I got to sit with this game for longer. We just found out about it during the show that Wemby was going to be there. So let's roll on to our final spot here on the board. Lakers Blazers at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. Brandon Cummings says he likes the under 238.5.
Really?
Yeah, he says
that's tough. 8 points is a lot.
And Chase saying players will pick up productivity for Spurs. Look out for someone to explode, giving them more chances for touches. I mean, it's not going to be Mamukashvili. I don't know who it's going to be, but
Devin.
Well, I mean, their guards are going to score regardless. That's not the issue. I mean, you think if they could, go back in time right now, that it would sure be nice, to have. I mean, they gave away some bigs, right? Didn't they have what's his name? That fucking what the hell is his name? That pretty boy, fucking. Whatever. Let's just roll on. But they're a mess, an absolute mess now without Wemby. It's going to be ugly. Let's go into Lakers, Blazers. So this is our final spot here on today's show. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. We'll go over all the action here overall on the card. Our guy Darryl running very, very hot these last 2 shows. We want him to go for 3 straight. Double-digit ROI after 45 bets here with us. Lakers 32-21, 13-14 on the road. Blazers 23-32, 15-13 at home. We're in Portland, Oregon. We watched the Lakers no-show last night, which was good for our bankrolls, but I did lose that first quarter, which is just I just couldn't believe losing it. 9 turnovers in the first quarter. I've never lost the first quarter in my life with the opposition turning the ball over 9 times. This total opened up at 226.5, is now at 227. On the point spreads here, we have the LA Lakers -3, -101. They opened up -4, so we had a 1-point move towards the Blazers. We get to the cash flow here. You have 80% of tickets, 78% of cash on the Lakers, the 1-point move away from them. 77% of tickets and 80% of cash on the over. LeBron went for 26, 11, and 7. Now he had 2 chances to hit the 3 at the end of the game to tie it up, but we know what happens when he gets those opportunities. It's fucking clinic.
Had 2 tries at it.
2 tries, yeah. Luka, 33 minutes, 14 points, 11 boards, 8 assists, 5 of 18 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3, and 6 turnovers. Obviously, he's got work
He'll get
to
it
do.
together. Yeah,
He
he'll
does
get it together.
not look good. By the way, Joey B says, side note for Denver, Charlotte's charter didn't arrive in Denver until 3:45 a.m. Didn't get to the hotel until 4:30 a.m. Wow, that's great stuff, Joey. Thank you for sharing that with us. Andrew G says Luka needs rest tonight. God, what a mess. What a mess.
Did it look like he was squinting? Guess with his shoulder? I don't know. He just looked a little off. I saw him running up the court. He just kind of was squinting with his shoulder, man. But yeah, he might need some rest, man.
I see him smiling, laughing, throwing turnovers and smiling and laughing. And God, that stuff has always just bothered me so much. When I understand you don't need to like wear the turnover, but smiling and laughing.
Wear the turnover.
But I just hate the fucking smiling and laughing, man. It bothers me so much. You just didn't see that when I was younger. The Blazers looked like they were rolling. They'd won 10 of 11. Then they lose 3 straight on that road trip before the break. Ayton, he looked good at times. He's got a lot of talent. It's just that he's the only player in the NBA who will call you up and say, I'm lost. I don't think I'll make it to the game tonight.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
It's like there's a snowstorm. What?
That man looks sad all the time. He just looks sad. He looks like he plays his hype music is like gospel music.
He'll be out.
Okay,
They got to get rid of him because Klingen's ready to take over here. I like him. He looked great going up against Jokic. 17 points, 20 boards. Gave him everything he could. But they've got issues here with Jeremy Grant and Scoot Henderson. Jeremy Grant with the right knee. Scoot Henderson with the right ankle. This is not. I mean, look, I know that Chauncey's a great motivator. I don't know what to do with this spot. Let me just leave it at that. I don't know what to do with this spot.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I guess I don't want to get. You know what? Maybe this is simple. Although the market's certainly not indicating that it is, because the public's on the Lakers to bounce back. Maybe they just bounce back here against the Blazers team that's probably going to be discombobulated coming off the break. But,
Yes.
But do you want to be on the public side in the NBA ever? I mean, I don't. So take it away, Darryl.
Public wins some time. And how's it public when this number's dropped the way it is? Are we looking for some injury news? Maybe no Luka, maybe no LeBron here.
That would make it more appealing here to back the Lakers, honestly.
Yeah. So is it preparation for that? Because if we got a 3.5 and now we're sitting at a 2.5, I've seen 3.5s, I've seen 3s. We're at a 2.5. There's some type of money, whether it's sharp money coming in on Portland, right? I thought that would probably be maybe recency bias, where you look at the Lakers and you just see the complete meltdown they had against the Charlotte team that they were 12.5 point favorites by, that they should have just smoked. The Charlotte should have been barbecue chicken, right? I'm telling you this right now. You know my play is on this game? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for my analysis? Are you ready for this?
I think I am ready for this.
You sure?
Oh, yeah.
Give me the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't give a fucking shit what the spread is.
You ready for this? Here's my analysis. I don't give a fucking shit. I don't give a fucking shit. So yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fucking shit. I don't give a fucking shit what the spread is.
Nutflush backs it. He thinks Lakers with the fresh trade news will get up to play weak teams right now. Take it away, girl. Why are you so confident?
And this is the reason why. They they were on a roll, right? And the thing is that you're not going to lose 3 games in a row to 3 bad teams. I can understand the Utah game. Maybe they were just ready to already pack it up and just get ready for All-Star break. Charlotte, that one there was, you should have never lost that one. And I do believe the sentiment going into the locker rooms and just preparing for this game, JJ is telling his team there's no fucking way we lose this game. We can't be down 3 games. 3 games in a row here. There's no way. No way whatsoever. And so I just personally think that when you have Denver coming up, Dallas coming up, and Minnesota coming up, man, listen, the last game that you want to lose is this game where you could potentially have what we would say at this point a 6-game, drop. Like, no way. No way. So if there's a game that LA has to steal and really, really play and be prepared for, it's this one. When they go to Denver in elevation, that's going to be a struggle in itself already because LA just cannot, for whatever reason, get over that hump and beat Denver. Denver is on their own little tear right now. Then you go back home and you got to face Dallas, and all the narrative and the hype, behind that game, right? There's no AD. He's out for an additional probably 2 more weeks, but there's going to be a lot of hype and talk behind that game. And Dallas is going to show up to play. And then you got to play Minnesota, right? So this is a spot here where I feel that I wouldn't feel as heavy about the Lakers tonight if they would have blew out Charlotte, in my opinion. But the fact that you lose to Utah, then you lose to Charlotte, and you got to go and play Portland before you play these nasty teams where you could potentially go on a 3-game slide here, you better win this game. You should have won the Charlotte game yesterday. You melted down in the third quarter, the second half, and you had to come back to life. Nobody was making shots. So I was thinking maybe there's a little rust factor there. Austin Reeves gets ejected. He gets a technical for a foul not being called. Nobody is hitting the net whatsoever. It's all front rim. Rui was literally non-existent from the 3. I do believe this is a bounce back spot. They're a little warmed up, got off that break, and I'll be damned if they lose to the Portland Trailblazers. I don't care who's playing. This is the game, and you're at basically 1 3-pointer from covering the spread. Give me the Los Angeles Lakers. I've said enough. I don't give a fucking shit what the spread is. They are winning this game tonight.
Yeah, I completely get that. I get that. But what I'm going to do is an angle that everybody has watched me cash with, and it is just taking the player that was kicked out of the game.
Yes, that is where you want. Right. You're absolutely supposed to do that.
I'm going to be on AR-15. I'm going to take. I don't want to double up, so maybe I just do PRA. I'm going to decide whether I want to do PRA or and points, penalties and PRA. But I'm going to be on Austin here. It's just it just cashes over and over and over and over and over and over again.
What do you have for him? This PRA.
Let's see here. I'm going to look at. I'll give you 2 books worth. Oh, it should be at the front. We have. Why are they not giving it to us?
Yeah, I don't see anything for him just yet.
Yeah, it's not here.
I'm going to jump on that. I'm going to add that. Whatever his points is and whatever his threes are, I'm adding that.
Interesting.
But you're absolutely right about you just go right back to Austin. Balls out.
Wow. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not up.
Let me check some news here.
I need to hit that as soon because that'll be bet by a lot of people. That angle just works and works and works.
It works. Yeah.
Mr. Belvedere going to take the Lakers minus a 3 here. I got to study it enough. There's no numbers available yet, so I've got to study it more.
Yeah.
but I'll be
That's my
honest.
that I'm telling you, and maybe I'm just call me biased, but that Lakers, they're gonna smoke this team. I do believe it.
Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I don't give a fucking shit what the spread is play today from Darryl. Lakers -2.5. That's a -112, unless anyone can beat that right now. That's what I have. Let's review all action in the association. We heard from Wine Time, who's running hot. Sixers +7.5. Clippers -2. Magic -1.5. Darryl gets his card started with the first quarter over 61.5 in Memphis Pacers and the Grizzlies -2. I'll have to decide if I have the conviction to go up against them with the Pacers. I'm not sure. I find the Sixers +7.5 a very interesting look from Wine Time. One that does make some sense. I may get there. The Sweaty Butcher has the surf and turf play of the day. That's Celtics team total over 116, Grizzlies team total over 125.5.
Man, that's a
+250.
good look. Man,
I'll pop that
yeah,
in the chat again for everybody. The
that's a
surf
good look.
and turf from the Sweaty Butcher. And there we go. Andrew G. Aiden's not playing, right? Sorry, I thought we went over that. Yeah, Aiden's out. DeAndre is not playing. And Turnsey says just placed his bet on Canada at Caesars Windsor. Canada -103, biggest bet of the year. God, Turnsey, if children were allowed in the fucking pool at Caesars Windsor, I'd be there 5 times a year. But what the fuck? What am I supposed to do with the kids that can't go in the fucking pool? Darryl is on Wagner over 26.5 points -126. I expect to be on the Magic. I'm going to bet the Magic. Cavs, Nets, no action for us. I have some interest in the Knicks, but I don't know if I get there.
You like
I like
the Magic? You like the Magic full game?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to move on the Magic full game. Wine time on them
Yeah.
already. I think that the break will be enormous for this Magic team. So much so,
Yeah.
I expect them to roll right out the gate.
And it's too many moving parts.
Bogdanovich over 1.5 threes for Darryl. I need to know what's going on with Storm and Norman. If he's out, that doesn't mean I won't be on the Clippers. I just want to know that he's out and make sure I've got the line and the X's and O's appropriately. Dougie Wise, it's such bullshit. It's got to be an adult pool. Like, what the? It's just so fucking stupid. Like, it's so. And you know what? If I lived in Windsor, I'd go out there with my kids and a sign saying "Let the kids swim." I get that. I get kids allowed in that pool like that. What do I want to drive down and stand outside with a sign just to fucking? But I would get that shit. The newspapers be there in a fucking second. But do I care that much? No. I'll just never go back. Darryl is on the Suns team total. First half team total over 58.5, -111. And then Darryl's on the Lakers -2.5, -102, 112. Excuse me. That's I don't give a fucking shit what the spread is play today. AR-15 props for me off of the getting kicked out. It's just it's incredibly strong angle in the prop market. And that is our NBA coverage for today. Darryl, you're running hot. Double-digit ROI
Let's keep it up,
after
bro.
45 bets. Stay hot. Stay hot. I love to see it, man. Thank you for your hard work, your angles, your insights. Please support our guy Darryl on X at It's Darryl. I'm a papa here in the chat. Darryl, my man, any last words for the Capper Sport in the show?
Man, a good show. A lot of games, man. We're back in it, right? This is closing time here. Teams are gonna play hard or not play at all. So I'm happy and excited to see what this week looks like, man. I will see you next week, and I'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks in person, man.
Oh, yeah. I cannot wait. There he is, our guy, Darryl Rice. All right, it is time and there it is, Pubapalooza 4. God, it's coming up. I just keep my head down. And get the work done. Daniel Hernandez on Spurs money line, expecting them to step up without Wemby. I can understand that idea. Let's bring our friend Jose Bouquet onto the show and let's race. Jose, let's race. Super True Story says, give me a hockey prop. Okay, give me a second. There. Jose, how are you, my friend?
Good. Can't complain. I'm in studio today. We'll be here tomorrow. Busy days, but good times ahead. How are you?
I am okay. I'm okay. It was a very frustrating evening here last night. A prop here. Okay, I would take Connor McDavid to score a goal. That's what I would do. Connor McDavid goal. What a beast he is. Or you could take Nate McKinnon goal. Because I mean, you're going to get a plus money on both. What's McDavid? McDavid's goal. McDavid plus 210, McKinnon plus 190. One of them are going to bang it in. Or you could even parlay the two goals. There's King Al in the house. Says, what about the Cubs game today over 9? Well, that is a question that might be for Jose. Jose, did you move on baseball today?
No, I haven't had a chance, unfortunately. But I am interested. When you said Cubs, I was like, the Cubs. And then, but no, I haven't looked at it yet, unfortunately.
It's your time coming up. All right, let's race. I got to go pick up Ella, and I haven't been able to pick her up with the length of our shows lately, so I will be able to today. Dougie Y says, Snips, baseball's almost back, and we've welcomed you into Dodgers Nation.
Yeah, I've gone back-to-back years with saying that some team is not going to win the World Series, and they've gone on to win the World Series. So let's try to make it a third here with your Dodgers, Dougie Wise, because I don't think they're going to repeat. I'm one of the few people that don't think they're going to repeat, but we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's race some horses here. We thank all of the gold members. How many do we have?
78 golden members. Again, YouTube's scroll bar feature is fucked, so it took me a long time to try to find out who these members are. But shout out to you guys. We appreciate you guys nonetheless. The sons of bitches at YouTube are not helping me, but we are helping you guys today with a beautiful race here. And as we start off here, Preston Ekdahl, Bo Jackson, and old Jose Bouquet. And there he goes, falling into the back. As classic as it can get. Bo Jackson up there in the lead. Bo Jackson, I'm sure, has renewed his Blue Jays tickets. Kong's Clips happy with his Louisville Cardinals. JPZ Big Show picks Nuke Worker, who's going to kick my ass at Palooza. All in the mix here, Jimmy. What's going to happen here in these final last 30 seconds?
The Skunt Blaster making a move. That was a powerful move by Jay Peasy. Looks like Top Set is the one making a powerful move, trying to move up to the front end. Look at that. Jimmy the Bag trying to get involved in this race as well. 17 seconds left. Bo Jackson has the lead. A neck over the Skunt Blaster. A length over Kong's Clips. Sean Pulliam and Chill Will also in there. Here comes Jarek White, and here comes Jimmy the Bag. I told you that I wanted this one. I wanted it. Come on, get home. Oh, Coin takes it from me. Coin usurps. But Coin is a great friend of the channel. Excellent work, Coin, delivering the goods. Justin McKelvey right there. Lil Domo in third. Mine blocked by messages that I don't pay any attention to. Who came second?
Joey Marinaccio, Lil Domo, Justin McKelvey, and Jimmy the Bag.
TJ was right there as well. TJ right there for yet another victory for him. That was very tight, very, very tight. And we continue the great history of Nasty Nate continuing to not get paid. Now, that could change. We will race in San Antonio.
Do you really think Nasty Nate's going to put his money in these horses? I don't think he will.
You're absolutely right. He won't.
Yeah, why would he? He's never won before. Why would he do that?
You're right. Shout out to Bo Jackson in the house. Thank you guys all so much. Let's review all action. I got Canada plus 165 before the Finland game. Instead of taking Canada minus 1.5, I just took them to win it all here in that one. So Bobano's on the first period over 1.5. And by the way, Money Moves Picks is really right. Even if Money Moves Picks, even if you think Canada's going to win, the USA saves over with Hellebuck is a really strong look. Really strong look. Stacks play today. Number 1, Georgia Southern plus 8.5. Number 2, Cal Poly plus 12.5. Louisiana Troy under 137.5 for Gerald Jones. Viper NB on Orlando moneyline. I'm going to join them here. Free bands play today. Suns -2, -110. The Skunt Blaster play today. Old Dominion moneyline. Idaho State moneyline. Canada moneyline. Wine Time Sports has a birthday pick. Birthday pick here for our guy Sammy Calmer. Let me go over everything here. Morgan Spooner, Vermont moneyline plus 105 is his best bet here. We had Gorky give us Latvia in Eurobasket qualifying. Draper moneyline. Big Scott says USA moneyline. Western Kentucky minus 3.5. UNC Asheville moneyline. Kong's Clips. John Matsumoto, John Silva, and Anthony Hernandez altogether plus 117. Bobano's on the over 146.5 and ODU at plus 4.5. I'm interested in Albany. I'm not going to be able to make any bets for 30 or 40 minutes here, which is okay. It's okay because the importance of getting your action is imperative, and I struggled with that, as you saw, Jose, with all the booze at Pabapalooza. Georgia Southern plus 8.5 for Bobano in the over 137.5. I'm interested in Delaware. DC Capper gave us Austin P plus 6.5, Monmouth plus 6.5, which is a spot that Bobano likes as well. Southern Utah plus 8.5, Wichita State plus 7.5, and Sacramento State plus 6.5. Bobano on the over 141.5 in Northwestern Wildcats, Ohio. Bobano on the over 144.5 in UNC Asheville, Radford. I'm interested in Radford. I agree that Vermont is the spot. That might be my best bet. Might be. Bobano on Georgia State plus 10.5. He's also on Kennesaw State minus 3.5. I'm interested in joining him. I might be going up against him in this New Mexico State, Jacksonville State spot. I'm not sure. Bobano on Northeastern plus 1.5. He's also on Towson. He's on Louisiana Raging Cajuns plus 15.5. I interested. Bobano's on SIU Edwardsville. He's on North Alabama plus 7.5 in the over 148. I'm interested in Lipscomb first half. Jacksonville plus 1 for Bobano. He's also on the over 153.5 in USC Maryland. I'm interested in Maryland. Super True Story in Wichita plus 8 and Southern Indiana first half. He's on the over 139.5. I'm interested in Middle Tennessee. I expect to be on Idaho State with the squad and CSUN, Bobano on CSUN as well. And Santa Clara, I expect to be there as well. So that is the show. We just went over NBA. So you guys know the plan there. I'm going to be making these bets in about 40 minutes here. That is our show for today. Thank you guys. In 1 month, opening day of Pabapalooza. Shout out to all of you guys.
I think there's baseball on the day before Pabapalooza starts. I think the Japan series starts that week as well. So
that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
That'll be fun. AEOD, Donnie Carabastos, Dougie Wise, Bo Jackson, Mr. Belvedere, Kelly McInnes, Nasty Nate, Slow Jams, Arsenal. Thank you guys so much. Action Jackson, Sean Pulliam, Money Moves Picks. What a great group. Super True Story, King Al. Thank you guys so much. Dan Kelly, Brandon Cummings, True Allah, 4th and 1 Entertainment, Crip Key, Turnsy. Thank you guys. Nut Flush Allen. Thank you guys all.
Nate said birthday pick.
Yeah, that would sorry, I believe I just said it here. The birthday pick for me is Vermont.
Okay.
Vermont at home plus money. The only thing that I think, well, obviously it's Canada. But I mean, Sammy knows that. Team Canada.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want one, it's obviously Canada. But I did like the College of Charleston, like you said, but I don't want to bet against our guy Janny. So, yeah, Canada, go for you, my guy Sammy Colmer.
Happy birthday to Sammy Colmer, great guy and great friend of the show. There we go. That is our show for today. Thank you guys so much for supporting it. Go out there and get that cash. Let's have a big day and finish off this week strong. We have tomorrow's big show as well. Spoondog going to be rocking with us in college basketball. Jose, my friend, take us home. Take us home and bless our action.
Yeah, shout out to you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of things coming up for Pabapalooza. I cannot wait to see what happens. Should be very interesting, and I am committed this year, Jimmy. I'm going to stay out that one night super late so I can see the pollutant come out and potentially throw his laptop up in the sky again and see what happens here. So, Nasty Nate, even our guy Lynn, nice to see you, Lynn, in here. Dougie Wise, Donnie asking if I'm sedated. Nice to see you, Donnie. Kelly McInnes, I thought Kelly was going to come through there in that horse race, but shout out to you, Kelly. Let's go make some money today. And let's bring out the milk makers today. Let's bring them out. You got to grab them like this and squeeze down from the bottom to the top.
Exactly what you got.
And leche. Hey, los bookmakers.